multiple worlds collecting cards from Naruto. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 326, Group C Players. In addition to Marco, Pepper of Cone is also a seed player. After all, this old pirate has fought with the Navy hero Garp, and he is also the synonym of using his head to hit your lungs. With armament haki and sharp horns, it will be bent with one punch. Seeing the head of Pepper of Cone, Chen Tian was glad that he traveled through time in the flesh. Otherwise, if he got a strange body, he could only work hard to practice armament haki and then ask Garp to give him a few punches to see if he could hammer that strange body into an ordinary person. But this time, the figure of Straw Hat Boy was not seen in the arena. After all, in the original incident, Straw Hat Boy chose to participate in the bullfighting arena in order to snatch the flame fruit from his brother Ace. And this time, he can be said to have no interest in the tremor fruit, but there is still a person on the ring who covers his figure with a black robe and carries an old water pipe. Sabo, Chief of Staff of the Revolutionary Army. It seems that the Revolutionary Army needs the power of the tremor fruit. After all, it is known as the most powerful superhuman devil fruit. It's just that with a strong body like Whitebird, the ability of the tremor fruit can reach that level. Although Sabo's physical skills are not bad, he is still far behind Whitebird. Chen Tian also recognized the guy carrying the water pipe at this moment. It is not strange that the Revolutionary Army is eyeing the tremor fruit. After all, if they want to compete with the world government, the Revolutionary Army needs more and more powerful forces. Although the Revolutionary Army is now considered the biggest enemy by the world government, it is not because of how powerful they are. It is their thoughts and the beliefs they spread that are constantly threatening the 800-year rule of the world government. For the existence of the world government, powerful power is not the real threat, but the idea of resistance is the fatal existence. No matter how powerful the power is, it will have no effect on the world government. After all, the 800-year foundation of the world government is not a joke. But the idea of resistance is different, because this idea of resistance will spread as fast as the plague. When countless people resist at the same time, they will have no way to stop it. After all, the world government can't kill everyone and leave only the celestial dragons. Without these asterisk and garbage in their eyes, who will provide them with all kinds of extreme enjoyment? Are they going to let these noble celestial dragons work and labor in person? The topic has gone a bit far. Now let's get back to it. In addition to Sabo, there is another person wearing a black robe. This person is tall, about 3 meters tall, and he also exudes a dangerous and cold aura. Although I don't know where this person came from, judging from the aura he exudes, he should have the strength of no less than Marco. With Gaz's announcement, the competition in Group C directly entered a white-hot stage, and everyone began to fight each other. The most eye-catching one among them is the giant Hailding, not because of how powerful he is, but because his figure is indeed too tall. It is impossible not to attract attention. The physical fitness of the giants is extremely strong. If a giant like Hailding can really eat the tremor fruit, then the power that can be released can at least reach the level of the Vice Emperor. However, there are many strong people on the stage. Although Hailding has some strength, it is difficult for him to stand out from these people. Giant Hailding. At this time, the mysterious man wrapped in a black robe walked to Hailding's side. He looked up at this huge guy and laughed coldly. To be honest, I also want to see how powerful the giant who eats the tremor fruit is, so how about we make a deal? I will help you get the tremor fruit, and then you use its power to become the king of the giants, and lead the giants to submit to our pirate group. Although the giants have never had a top-level strongman at the level of admiral, their backbone is the most powerful. Because they are born with extremely strong physical fitness, as long as they reach adulthood, they can at least be a major general in the headquarters of the Navy, and the strong ones can even become vice admirals. Moreover, the number of giants is not particularly rare, and this power is quite coveted by some ambitious people. Hailding lowered his huge head and looked at the man who stood in front of him like an ant and said, "You said you can help me get the tremor fruit. Can you do it? You also want us giants to surrender? Stop kidding." As soon as the voice fell, he swung his huge fist with incomparable strength and punched the mysterious man, bursting out with terrifying power. For a giant like him, it is unforgivable that this black-robed ant actually wants all giants to surrender to him. But the mysterious man stood there without any intention of dodging. He raised one of his hands, as if he wanted to lift something. Boom. The huge roar resounded in all directions. Seeing this scene, the commentator Jayasi became more and more excited. Hailding's punch seemed almost unstoppable, but at this moment, the dust from the falling fist cleared, and everyone saw the mysterious man still standing there, easily blocking Hailding's attack with just one hand. This is incredible. Leaf blocked the giant Hailding's attack with just one hand. But what kind of terrifying power is hidden in that normal-sized body? Gazi shouted excitedly. The arena is to see this kind of exciting battle. The duel like Bartolomea in front is simply shit. Bartolomea, who is unpopular in himself, is going to win, which makes people complain. What's more, he just picked up the leak. From beginning to end, he defeated only one person. All the rest were knocked off the ring by that king's fist, which made the audience even more upset. TSK. The power of the giants is not as strong as I thought. By the way, I heard that your giants have a very powerful move, which seems to be called the Elbaf Spear, right? Why don't you try to use that move against me? Maybe it can arouse my interest. Leaf's words were completely mocking Hailding, and his upward raised corners of his mouth further highlighted what absolute mockery meant. He didn't take Hailding, the giant, seriously at all. You are looking for death. Hailding's face suddenly became gloomy. He raised his fist high and gathered all the strength of his body into one point. The veins on his huge arms suddenly bulged. He wanted to use his strongest blow to defeat this ant called Leaf. But just as he was accumulating strength, Leaf flashed and appeared in the air, in front of Hale's head. On the right arm, that was about to swing, scales like steel suddenly appeared, and Leaf's eyes turned into vertical pupils like a lizard. Who would give you a chance to hit with all your strength? The moment the words came out, Leaf's right arm fell hard on Hailding's head like a cannonball, and a huge force swept out instantly. With just one blow, Hailding's eyes rolled back, and he lost consciousness, and his huge body fell directly on the ring. The audience was stunned to see such a scene. No one expected that a normal-sized human like Leaf could knock down such a powerful giant with one punch. It's so boring. So for a mere tremor fruit, can't the boss let Rosses come alone? Why do you want me to participate in such a boring competition? Leaf stretched and said with a bored look on his face, but this sentence revealed his identity. Like Rosses, the winner of Group A, he is a member of the mysterious pirate group. Chapter 327 Marco vs. Green Pepper. Leaf's strength was beyond doubt after he killed the giant Hailding with one strike. Although Hailding was not very powerful, being able to kill him in an instant was not something that ordinary people could do. In addition, the scales and changes that appeared on Leaf's body just now, as well as the vertical pupils like a lizard, made people know that he was an animal-type devil fruit user, but it was not clear what kind of fruit it was. You can kill that big guy with one strike. Do you look strong? At this time, a man with a very strange arm walked in front of Leaf, looking at Leaf with an arrogant face. Destruction Canonidio, the champion of the New World Central Fighting Tournament Vita level. Although I don't know how this tournament is held, anyway, he has a champion title. It's just that in this arena, no one seems to care about him as a champion. It's natural to be strong. After all, compared with you guys who don't know what kind of cats and dogs got a useless honor, I'm indeed much stronger. Leaf turned around and looked at Edo, and his words were full of irony. TSK. Others don't know you, but I have heard of you. You are one of the leaders of the mysterious pirate group, and you have the ability of the nine-headed giant lizard fruit in the animal-type mythical beast. You already have a devil fruit. Are you also interested in the power of the tremor fruit? Edo recognized Leaf's identity at a glance and even told him the ability of his devil fruit. There are several mythical beast type ability users among the leaders of the mysterious pirate group. No one knows where these guys came from. There are several extremely rare mythical beast type fruits. However, when the Bankei pirates appeared before, no one knew where they came from, so the people of the New World were not surprised by the appearance of this mysterious pirate. The trema fruit is the ability of Whitebird. Anyone would be interested in it. But what do you want to do by telling me this now? After knowing my identity, do you still think you can defeat me? Leaf said with a sneer. Although their pirate group has been hiding their identities, and even their leaders will not show their faces, but with his identity, these ants are not worthy of being compared with him. It is an insult to him. Moreover, his strength was extremely strong, which was beyond the guessing of the person in front of him. Haha, I don't care who you are. Since I'm here, I will definitely win the championship. As soon as he finished speaking, Edio shot out, and his fist, like a heavy artillery, directly hit Leaf's cheek. But Leaf, like when he faced Hailding's heavy punch before, had no intention of dodging at all. The scales on his body covered his body in an instant. This time, he was too lazy to even raise his hands, and planned to use his body to take the opponent's heavy punch. Bang! The sound of the explosion instantly resounded in all directions, and the smoke caused by the explosion of this punch also blocked the sight of many spectators. Many people in the audience stretched their necks to see clearly how the fight between Edio and Leaf was going. When the smoke dissipated, they saw Idio's fist hit Leaf's face hard, but Leaf did not move at all. Hey, your strength is not enough to tickle me. That's why I said this match is meaningless. If you want to seize the trema fruit, Rossus can do it alone. Calling me here is a waste of time. Leaf looked bored, and even stretched out his hand to pick his ears. He didn't take the destruction cannon idiot seriously at all. The next moment, his arm with scales was directly wrapped with black armed color domineering, and then he punched idiot directly. The powerful punch set off a gust of wind. Although it didn't have the effect of an explosion, there was no doubt that Leaf's punch was much more fierce than Idiot's fist. At this moment, on the other side, the 3 members of the 8 Treasures Navy were also quickly clearing out the enemies, especially King Jiro, the 12th generation pillar of the 8 Treasures Navy. His domineering aura can be said to be a harvester of miscellaneous soldiers. Those guys who are not generous enough can't stand in front of him at all. Leader King Jiro, can you give me a face and give up the fight for the trema fruit? At this time, the pineapple-headed Marco appeared directly in front of the 3-member team of the 8 Treasures Navy. He looked at the huge body of King Gio and said slowly, "Phoenix Marco?" King Gio looked at the guy in front of him, and his face suddenly became solemn. If there is anyone in this group C who can really be valued by him, then Marco definitely occupies a place. As the former captain of the first team of the Whitebird Pirates, Marco's strength is second only to Whitebird in the Whitebird Pirates. There is no doubt that he is strong. I'm sorry. If it were normal, I could indeed give you this face, but Whitebird's trema fruit is extremely useful for my 8 Treasures Navy, so I will never give it to you. The reason why Cone Pepper came to compete for the trema fruit was mainly to use the trema fruit's power that could destroy everything to open his treasure buried in the glacier. That was his obsession. Before the sharp horns on his head were bent by Garp, all his wealth in his life was buried under the glacier. But since the sharp horns on his head were bent by Garp, he could only watch those treasures from a distance and could not take out a single cent. Now Whitebird's trema fruit is an opportunity for him, an opportunity to break the glacier and take out his treasure. Faced with such a devil fruit, Pepper will definitely not let it go. In that case, I won't show mercy, Pepper. Marco's face changed, and then the blue fire of regeneration burned on his body. In an instant, he appeared in front of Pepper from midair. After all, he was once the second strongest of the Whitebird Pirates. In addition to the power of the devil fruit, Marco's physical skills are definitely not to be underestimated. Bang! Marco raised his foot and kicked on the huge body of Green Pepper, and a huge sound broke out. Even with Green Pepper's huge body, he took several steps back at this time, before he stabilized his body. What about a pirate with a bounty of 500 million baileys? A strong man like Marco, who is at the level of the Emperor, has a bounty of at least 1 billion on the sea. Don't think that you can defeat me with this little strength. 8 punch. After all, Cone Green Pepper was a former pirate. In that era, although he was not as powerful as Whitebird, Golden Lion and Roger who dominated the sea, he was also an extremely powerful existence. Although he is old now, and the horns on his head were bent by Garp, it is not so easy to defeat him. What's more, the obsession with breaking those glaciers and retrieving his treasures is also constantly strengthening Green Pepper's combat effectiveness. Although Cone Pepper's hard power is not as good as Marco's, his 3-color domineering is not inferior at all. After all, he is much older than Marco, so he is naturally more proficient in the practice of 3-color domineering. Chapter 328 King's Highland. The fight on the ring was fierce, and the audience cheered one after another. However, for Chen Tian and his friends, it was no different from watching a monkey show. Although King Jio was not weak, she was definitely not Marco's opponent. As for other people like the Destruction Cannon, they were definitely not Leaf's opponents. There were only 3 people who could really stay in the ring. In addition to the 2 mentioned above, the last one was Sabo, the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army. With his dragon, claw fist and strong domineering, Sabo's strength was definitely above the level of Vice Admiral of the Navy headquarters, but there might be some gap between him and the Admiral. If he could get the power of the Tremor fruit, he should be able to become a strong man at the level of Admiral. As for the final winner, according to Chen Tian's judgment, it should not be surprising that it should be the Phoenix Marco. Although the Phoenix form of the mythical beast species could not give Marco such a strong attack power, his endurance was second to none. In addition, he could fly, which made him invincible in this ring. In addition, he participated in this competition to take back his father's Tremor fruit. With such a belief, he would not allow himself to fail. Chen Tian was not very interested in the D group match that had not yet started. The players in D group were not strong, just a bunch of chickens fighting each other. In addition, Lacus, Nami, Robin and others were tired of watching, so Chen Tian led a few people directly to the King's Highlands. He now needs to meet that Cheyenne Yasha. After all, he had decided to bring back a specialty before coming. Princess Mancheri, who is closely related to the specialty, is in Doflamingo's hands. If I remember correctly, she should be imprisoned in the King's Highlands. Hey, it seems that I'm not the only guest here, Doflamingo. But don't expect me to help you deal with the Admiral here. After all, I'm just here for tourism, and don't have time to deal with these troublesome things. If you need help, you should contact Kakashi first. Led by Doflamingo's men, Chen Tian and his companions walked into the room. As soon as they entered, the faces of King Riku and Admiral Fujitora who were originally here changed drastically. Everyone knows that Doflamingo can run rampant in the new world. In addition to his own impressive strength, his biggest backer is the 10,000 Worlds Pirates. After all, in this new world, the title of the 7 Warlords of the Sea does not play a big role. Only the existence of the 1 Emperor and the 4 Emperors can intimidate the large number of pirates in the new world, which are as numerous as stars. The most powerful among the 1 Emperor and the 4 Emperors is undoubtedly the man who is called the Demon God and the ruler of the 10,000 Worlds Pirates, Chen Tian. Of course I understand what you mean. The reason why I asked you to come here is just because some guys have started to take action, and I don't want your fun to be disturbed because of them. Doflamingo was quite respectful to Chen Tian. After a slight pause, he turned his head and smiled at Fujitora and said, I only have a little thought, which is that I hope your presence can make the Admiral a little more restrained. After all, he has been eyeing me since just now, and he also said that he wanted to abolish the system of 7 Warlords of the Sea. He didn't consider the balance between the 4 major forces of the Navy, 7 Warlords of the Sea, 4 Emperors, and 1 Emperor. When did my Bankai pirates become an independent and powerful force? This is the first time I've heard of such a thing. But balance is not important at all. The reason why Kakashi and the others are here is just to protect a channel for us to obtain devil fruits. Useful people often pass away from useless people. You should understand what I mean, Doflamingo. Chen Tian grinned. No matter who he was facing, he had no worries or fears at this moment. He is no longer the fugitive who was timid and submissive. Now he can be said to be fearless. Moreover, his attitude towards Doflamingo is also complicated. After all, this guy has provided him with a lot of devil fruits, but Chen Tian can't like him anyway. Especially when he saw those toys. He felt that Doflamingo was a little too much. After experiencing so many things, his heart has long been cold, and massacres are not a psychological burden for him at all. But making the whole world forget a person's behavior, even with Chen Tian's current mentality, it is inevitable to have a little disgust. If Chen Tian were in Doflamingo's position, Chen Tian would rather kill all these people than do this. However, this emotion was only for a moment, and then Chen Tian threw it behind his mind. There is no such thing as kindness and goodness in this world. Although the Straw Hat Pirates, as the protagonists, are loved by many people, aren't they also ruthless and cruel pirates? When fighting with various pirate navies, they also destroyed the property of innocent people, and many people were even dragged into their battles and lost their lives. But I have never seen the Straw Hat Pirates make compensation or feel guilty. After all, this is a real world, not the comics I saw in my previous life. How could there be no deaths? From the literal meaning, can I understand that Mr. Chen Tian doesn't care whether the 7 warlords of the sea exist? Fujitora turned around with a smile and faced Chen Tian. He was blind, but at this moment, his pale eyes seemed to be staring at Chen Tian. Who do you think you are asking? Fujitora Ichimoku. Chen Tian said nonchalantly. What does the existence of the 7 warlords of the sea have to do with me? You should discuss this matter with the world government instead of asking me, a wanted pirate. Haha, I made it very clear. Kakashi and others are here to protect my channel, to obtain the devil fruit. As long as Doflamingo has this ability, he will not be in trouble, no matter who wants to do something to her. Remember what I said, and then dispel those unrealistic ideas in your mind, so that you can sit in the position of Navy Admiral longer. Otherwise your title will be former Navy Admiral Fujitora Ichimoku. Chen Tian didn't mean to joke at all, and the former Navy Admiral he mentioned didn't mean that Fujitora would resign or something like that, but to use the simplest way. Fujitora Ichimoku, who died like Sakazuki at the beginning, can't serve as the Admiral of the headquarters, right? Did you hear clearly, Mr. Admiral? On the sea of the New World, the words of the demon god Chen Tian are absolute orders. I suggest that you should obey them. Although you are the Admiral of the Navy headquarters, no one will look down on you if you surrender here. After all, even the Navy headquarters has to bend down and kneel in front of this adult. Although Doflamingo was full of sarcasm about what Fujitora had always said at this moment, Fujitora was still suppressing his anger with a smile and did not dare to have any extreme reaction. Because he knew very well that Doflamingo was not talking nonsense. The Sea of the New World itself was not controlled by the Navy. In this sea area, the real rulers are the 1 emperor, the 4 emperors, and the 5 extremely powerful pirates, especially the 1 emperor, the demon god Chen Tian, who is the most terrifying existence. In the eyes of countless pirates now, they all believe that, as long as Chen Tian is willing, he can reach the final island of Raftel at any time, and become the new pirate king. Fujitora was silent for a while, then turned around, and planned to leave. However, when he walked out of Doflamingo's palace, a handsome figure was waiting for him. It's best not to do anything special. I believe you don't need me to remind you of this, Mr. Admiral. The person who said this was Hatake Kakashi. Chapter 329, Lonely Red. Chen Tian found a seat at random and sat down. However, the only comfortable seat in the room was Doflamingo's. If it was someone else, he would have been taken down by the Don Quixote family's guards at this time. However, no one dared to say a word when he sat here, because he had the power to destroy the Don Quixote family at any time. Doflamingo, let Kakashi keep an eye on that admiral for you. Even if the Navy takes any action, Fujitora's smile will not affect you. As for the Straw Hat guys, you should be able to handle them yourself, right? Chen Tian said with a chuckle, crossing his legs. Thank you, Master Chen Tian. If it was just 1 Straw Hat, it wouldn't be a problem to deal with them, but... Before Doflamingo finished speaking, Robin interrupted him and said, the 4 Emperors red-haired Shanks has been stopped by Jiraiya and his men. Before your business here is over, they have no way to get close to Dressrosa. There is no obvious movement on the side of the 4 Emperors Fireman Ace, but our Bankei pirates have also sent people to keep an eye on him, so you don't have to worry. With just these 2 sentences, the 2 big stones in Doflamingo's heart fell. He had received news before that Straw Hat Luffy was involved. If they really faced the attack of red-haired Shanks and Fireman Ace, then their Don Quixote family would not be a match anyway. So from the beginning, he knew very well that his greatest reliance was not Dressrosa, nor his identity, nor even his strength, but the Bankai pirates. The real overlord of this new world is his greatest reliance. As long as the Bankai pirates stand on his side, then he can continue to survive in this new world. Do you understand, Doflamingo? Chen Tian said with a smile. Handle the Straw Hat Pirates well. Don't be like that crocodile, who was defeated by such a newcomer for no reason. Speaking of which, Crocodile used to be one of the 7 warlords of the sea like you. Could it be that the Straw Hat Boy is really what others call the 7 warlords of the sea killer? It must be said that Luffy really has the potential to become a 7 warlords of the sea killer. He has already eliminated 2 7 warlords of the sea on the way from the East China Sea to the New World. The first one is Crocodile. I don't know if that guy has anything to say when he was defeated by Luffy. The second one is Gecko Moria, who was beaten up by Luffy. Chen Tian and Luffy have a little relationship anyway, so before coming here, he didn't consider the idea of persuading Luffy to leave Dressrosa. But then he thought that, since Luffy promised Trafalgaro, he would definitely be stubborn, and no one could persuade him. Moreover, Chen Tian had met Luffy in person before, but Luffy didn't remember him at all. In this way, the option of Luffy leaving was ruled out. So now there is only one choice for Chen Tian, that is to use his strength to protect Doflamingo, and then expel Luffy and others. Don't worry, I won't. Before Doflamingo finished speaking, Baby 5 ran in with a Den Mushi. Young master, Straw Hat Luffy has invaded the palace, and they have people attacking the Kada Tower. If nothing goes wrong, their target is Sucrose. In an instant, Doflamingo's forehead was bulging with veins, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help twitching a few times. He was about to say that he would not make such a low-level mistake, but the face was really slapped, which reminded him of a very nice song. Slapping the face too fast is like a tornado. The speed of this slapping is not too fast, just like Bondewald who ate the Momo fruit. If he slaps the face at 10 times the speed, it is estimated that he can't catch up with Doflamingo's 1/10,000th. Don't underestimate the Straw Hat Pirates. This is my advice to you, Doflamingo. So you should go and deal with your own affairs quickly. I don't mind you using a clone to talk to me here. After all, Chen Tian stared at the screen showing the finals of the arena and said, I found an incredible guy here. The people who walked to the finals on this screen were beyond Chen Tian's expectations. Needless to say, the first 3 were Ossus, Bartolomeo and Marco, and the person in charge of defending the ring was Doflamingo's subordinate Diamante. What was beyond Chen Tian's expectations was the winner of Group D, a man who should not have appeared here. Hearing this, Doflamingo suddenly set his eyes on the screen, his eyes fixed on the man wearing a rose-red shirt and blood-red pants. He was tall and thin, with white hair braided into 2 braids hanging on his shoulders, wearing black leather shoes with gold edges on his feet, and a wide blood-red cloak on his body. Inside is a lattice net, with a blue rose on his neck and a slender bat-handled umbrella in his hand. His eyebrows are red, and he has a gold chain on his mouth with a wicked smile. This guy is from the same era as Roger, Whitebird, Golden Lion, Garp Sengoku and others. He is on par with Roger and Whitebird alone, and his strength is extremely strong. The lonely red Belloric Redfield. I didn't expect Doflamingo to use a tremor fruit as bait to catch this big shot. In this way, things are much more interesting. Now Dressrosa has really gathered a lot of powerful guys. Please forgive me, I will deal with these trivial matters immediately, and it won't affect you. Doflamingo said this respectfully, and immediately began to order others to deal with these things. Whether it is Luffy who rushed into the palace, or the little people who planned to take action against Sugar, he didn't want Dressrosa, which he had run for 10 years, to be destroyed. At this time, Chen Tian's attention was focused on Redfield. Although the tremor fruit was a good ability, it should not be attractive to this lonely red. If he remembered correctly, Redfield after coming out of the Impel Down should be a fruit ability user of the animal type mythical beast vampire form. In this sea, Redfield's strength is quite strong. After all, he was a legendary figure who could stand on equal footing with the great pirates like Whitebird. Apart from anything else, this guy has at least the strength of a general. In the ring of the bullfighting arena finals, Redfield was definitely the strongest one. From the moment he appeared, everyone else had no hope of winning. Even if there were Marco, the vice captain of the Emperor level, and Sabo, the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army, on the ring, the situation would not improve at all. They even had no chance to steal the devil fruit in front of Redfield, because the observation haki of this lonely red was so strong that it was abnormal. He was a strong man who was born with the awakening of the observation haki. If you think about all his life experiences comprehensively, Chen Tian even suspects that this guy is the real protagonist and Straw Hat Luffy is just a supporting role. Because this guy's deeds are really too legendary, he has been a legend since he was born. In the end, Garp captured Redfield by taking advantage of the situation. Redfield fought a big battle with Steelbone Kong and defeated the previous Navy Admiral, the current Commander-in-Chief of the three armed forces, Steelbone Kong. After his physical strength was exhausted, Garp took action again to successfully capture Redfield. Otherwise, Iron Fist Garp, known as the hero of the Navy, may not be the opponent of this Redfield. Chapter 330 Chaos. Dodo. Dover. Something terrible has happened. Sucrose has fainted. Just as Chen Tian was watching Redfield's battle with 4 opponents in the arena through the projection of Den Mushi, a scream of treble came from a Den Mushi. When this scream came out, Doflamingo's face changed drastically. Sucrose is the key to the Don Quixote family's 10-year operation in Dressrosa. Once something happens to Sucrose, it means that the Don Quixote family's 10-year operation in Dressrosa will all be in vain. All the toys will return to their original human form, and the forgotten memories will be recovered by people. Doflamingo will no longer be the beloved king, but the culprit who plunged Dressrosa into the abyss of darkness. In this case, the whole Dressrosa will become chaotic, especially those who were defeated in the arena. These people gathered together are not a small force. Of course, Satches and others were not turned into toys. After all, even if Doflamingo had 100 ambitions, he would not dare to do so, otherwise he would be directly dealt with by Chenshin. Hey, are you kidding? Doflamingo grabbed the phone suddenly. He couldn't control his emotions at this moment. Treble continued at this time. The toy army we have run for 10 years is now gradually turning back to human form. The spell of the childish fruit has been lifted. For a time, the whole Dressrosa was in chaos. The arena, the port, the streets. All the toys began to recover. Among these toys were the original Dressrosa soldiers, people, government officials, navy, and pirates. I don't know how much darkness is hidden in secret, so that the country ruled by the Don Quixote family can look so prosperous on the surface. Wow, this is quite interesting. How did you do it? Lacus showed his interest in the toys that turned back into animals and humans in the projection. She has endless curiosity. She was quite interested in these moving toys before. Now that she sees that these toys can turn into humans and animals, she is even more curious. She has never seen the ability to turn people and animals into toys. The only one who is similar to this ability is Lulu on the Valoran continent. Lulu can turn people into small animals, which is very similar to this ability. So Lacus also wants to study this ability. This is the instinct of a magician. Just hearing Lacus's words, Doflamingo became even more angry, but he didn't dare to lose his temper with this young lady. He couldn't do that kind of behavior of being tired of living. Instead of actively making this young lady angry, it is better to find a better coffin to lie in, so as not to endure that kind of pain. After all, in his cognition, the magical girl Lacus is a more dangerous person than the demon god Chenshin. If Chenshin knew what Doflamingo was thinking, he would definitely nod in agreement, and even in a moment of excitement, he might even pull Doflamingo to swear brotherhood. Doflamingo. At this moment, a figure suddenly rushed into the palace. He had only one leg, but his movements were very fast. He held a big sword in both hands, and his roar seemed to vent the anger that had been depressed in his heart for 10 years. You bastard. Seeing the sudden appearance of that figure, Doflamingo's face became even uglier. In contrast, King Riku, who was tied in a corner and had not spoken, showed an excited look at this moment, and his eyes were fixed on the one-legged figure that rushed in. Cirrus, is that you? Yes. Cirrus responded, and tears could not help overflowing from his eyes. I'm very sorry to have made you wait for 10 years. I'm here to save you now." Cirrus struck with thunder, and the big sword swept across in an instant, directly beheading Doflamingo's head. Bakura and Baby 5 on the side could not help but exclaimed. Only Chen Tian sat in his original position and said calmly, "It's just a clone of Xiangxin. Why are you so surprised? The enemy doesn't know, let alone you two as Doflamingo's subordinates. You don't know this either. I really don't know what these two guys are so surprised about. If that Shine Yasha was really killed so easily, he wouldn't be alive today. No one can stop me from dispelling the darkness of this country." At this moment, Cirrus turned around and pointed the big sword in his hand directly at Chen Tian. His action instantly made Buffalo and Baby 5's faces show horror, and even Trafalgaro was shocked. No one thought that he would point his weapon at Chen Tian at this time. The legendary sword fighter, Cirrus Chen Tian's expression still didn't change at all, and his eyes didn't even move away from the projection to look at Cirrus for even a glance. "Are you sure you want to point your sword at me? Perhaps you have accumulated too much anger in your 10 years of life as a toy, so that when you recover now, you have forgotten what or is." As soon as the words fell, a powerful force burst out from Chen Tian's body, pressing down on Cirrus like a mountain. Under the power of Chen Tian, Cirrus immediately felt that his body was as heavy as 1,000 pounds, and it was extremely difficult to even move his feet. He had no intention of dealing with the troubles of Dressrosa for the time being, but if Cirrus wanted him to take action directly, Chen Tian would not mind taking action to let these guys know why he was called the man above the four emperors. "Okay, I don't have time to bother with that now. If you want to be a hero who liberates this country, go ahead and try. Don't disturb me from watching the show here. Baby 5, bring me some black tea and snacks. If you have any delicious meat, bring some too. It would be best if there are specialties from Dressrosa. I finally came out, and I haven't tasted the delicacies in your palace yet." While speaking, Chen Tian also released the power that suppressed Cirrus. After all, in his eyes, Cirrus couldn't stir up any waves at all. Whether it was this legendary swordsman or Luffy hiding outside the window, he could get rid of these two guys at any time if he wanted to. "Am I needed? I'll do it right away." When Baby 5 heard that Chen Tian needed her, she immediately rushed out. She decided to find all the delicacies and snacks in the palace in the shortest time. But in a way, such Baby 5 was still very likable. That Lord Chen Tian Buffalo didn't know what to do at this time. "If you want to stay here, don't do it. If you don't want to stay, get out. If you want to fight and make trouble, just don't bother me." Chen Tian waved his hand and said casually. At this time, Cirrus stared at Chen Tian and didn't dare to move for a while. He was going to deal with Doflamingo, not the ruler of the 10,000 world's pirates. Moreover, even if he really wanted to deal with Chen Tian, he knew his own strength and could never beat Chen Tian's opponent. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 331 The Red Earl. Dressrosa Fight, Bull Arena. It seems that there are some unexpected accidents in this country, so is there any need for us to continue the fight here? At this time, Red Earl Redfield held his umbrella sword in one hand and stood on the ring. The changes in the surrounding situation did not affect his state of mind at all. After all, in his eyes, as long as he has enough power, all the changes around him will not have any impact on him. And he himself is a person with strong strength. Old man, you think you can't hold on, so you say this. This is the arena. Before the winner is decided, no one will care what happened outside or what is about to happen. Rossis maintained his half-dragon and half-human state, staring at Redfield with his eyes. Although his words were full of sarcasm, he knew one thing very well, that is, the most powerful person on the ring at this moment was the guy called the Lonely Red. Speaking of it, the reason why such a guy reappeared on the sea was all because of the Blackbeard, who was killed by the Wanji pirates in the war at the top. If it weren't for that bastard breaking through the Impel Down, a monster like Redfield should have died of old age on the 6th floor of the Impel Down. Young man, don't say such arrogant words here. I'm just bored with the battle here. Speaking of which, the 5 of us are all devil fruit users, but we are fighting for the tremor fruit here. Isn't it ridiculous? Redfield swept his observation haki and found the treasure chest containing the tremor fruit. Then he continued, of course, since you are standing here, I think everyone must have their own reasons, but it's better to end the boring battle as soon as possible. When the words fell, he took out a few special leaves from his arms. These were the transformation leaves of Donpa, which could transform into the strong men he knew. Although his strength could not really reach the level of those strong men, it was definitely an extremely powerful ability. I just didn't know where the guy named Donpa was hiding now. Seeing Redfield's actions, everyone became alert in an instant. Only Bartolomeo looked confused. As a standard new pirate, and a new pirate who only has Luffy in his eyes, he really doesn't know the origin of this evil old man in red clothes. In fact, among the people present, only Marco and Rosses seem to know something about the Red Earl. Others don't know what the existence of this old man called the Lonely Red means. The pirates of this era don't know that there was a Red Earl on the sea who could stand on equal footing with Roger White but by his own strength. Hey, old man, why do I feel that you are going to do something bad? Rosses looked at the leaves in the Red Earl's hand, and a special sense of crisis emerged in his heart. At this time, Redfield threw the leaves in his hand forward, and then whispered, haha, I just have some feelings. In the time that I don't know, many heroes appeared on the sea. After the words fell, several deformed leaves directly turned into 5 special figures. On this ring, everyone saw these 5 figures, and their faces instantly became extremely solemn. Even Chen Tian, who was watching the projection in Doflamingo's palace, couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Transformation leaves are really magical abilities. If there are enough leaves, maybe they can really imitate my Bankei pirates. That's right. The core members of Chen Tian's command were transformed by Redfield using the transformation leaves. In the previous fight, he used his observation haki to read Marco's memory and saw the top war that took place in Marineford a year ago. But it was precisely because of seeing that war that he felt shocked in his heart. Since leaving Impel Down, he has fought with the Navy more than once. In the process of fighting, he used the Tompa transformation leaf to transform some big pirates, the admirals of the Navy headquarters, and even the Emperor like Whitebird. But when he tried to use the transformation leaf to transform Chen Tian, Lackason my guy, he found that the transformation leaf could not transform the 3 of them at all. So he used the transformation leaf to transform the 5 core members of the Bankei pirates, namely, the Mad Demon Jiraiya, the Cold King Orochimaru, the White Fanged Hatake Kakashi, the Golden Flash Namikaze Minato, and the Great Swordsman Eri. As soon as these 5 figures appeared, it can be said that they directly suppressed the other players in terms of momentum. In the eyes of everyone, the core members of the Bankei pirates are basically equivalent to the admirals. Now the Red Earl raised his hand and directly transformed 5 core members of the Bankei pirates. What kind of a joke is this? Rosses, Marco, Bartolomeo and Diamandi were tied together, and even if there was a super doubled Doflamingo, they would not be the opponent of the 5 admirals. Do you want to report the old man in red clothes in front of you for cheating? I don't believe this guy is really as powerful as the core members of the Bankei pirates. Otherwise, the Red Earl can rule the world alone. Marco's eyes condensed, and he regained his calm from the shock just now. If Redfield could really transform into a perfect admiral level combat power, then he could indeed rule the entire world. Who could stop him from turning into 1,000 crazy Jiraiya's or golden flashing Minato Namikaze? It's true that they can't be as powerful as the real ones, but they are enough to deal with you guys. Redfield sneered, and then the 5 transformed core members of the Bankei pirates rushed directly towards Marco and others. At the same time, he himself shot out like a ghost. What made him really powerful was not the transformation leaf, but his own strong combat power. Boom. A deafening collision sound broke out in the arena. Redfield was almost fighting 1 against 4, but he didn't mean to fall into the disadvantage. Instead, Marco and others were completely suppressed by him, and the Jiraiya and others transformed by the transformation leaf. At the same time, on the chaotic streets of Dressrosa, a young man wearing an orange cowboy hat was walking quickly. There was obvious anxiety on his face, and he accidentally knocked a black-robed man to the ground. I'm sorry, I'm in a hurry. Are you okay, Sabo? Ace was stunned. He was still trying to find Luffy and Sabo, but he ran into them here. And this way is too dramatic, right? Can you be more formal? I'm here to save lives. Is it really okay for you to laugh like this? However, these thoughts were just fleeting. The deepest thought in Ace's heart was still surprise and happiness. Chapter 332, The Arrogant Son of Destiny. Ace. The man who was knocked down by him stood up suddenly. He was a little distracted just now, otherwise he would not have been knocked down like this. But who knew that when he came to his senses, he actually saw his brother whom he had not seen for many years. This feeling is the same as falling down when going out, and then picking up a lottery ticket, and then accidentally seeing the number on the lottery ticket is the number that just won 5 million. And when he saw Sabo, Ace, who has become the emperor of the new world, and one of the 4 emperors, hugged his brother and cried, "You are still alive. So good." Alive, whether it is Ace or Luffy, they all think that Sabo has died under the muzzle of the celestial dragons. This is a very interesting place. The celestial dragon who was supposed to kill Sabo was killed by Chen Tian in the Sabaody archipelago. But Sabo's experience has not changed at all. But this is not surprising. If Sabo did not have the experience of that year, then the Revolutionary Army would be missing a chief of staff now. Hey, if you keep hitting me so hard, I'm really going to die. Sabo was also very happy at this time, but his control over his emotions was much better than Ace's. After all, when he recovered his memory, he already knew that Ace and Luffy were still alive. Although the time it took for him to recover his memory was not long, this period of time was enough for him to stabilize his emotions. After telling a little about his own story, Sabo asked with a strange look on his face, "By the way, why did you come to Dressrosa?" Their Revolutionary Army received intelligence that many members of the Bankai pirates were staring at Ace's side, but now Ace suddenly appeared in Dressrosa. "It's all because of that guy Luffy. But this time I came here alone secretly. After all, there are people from the Bankai pirates watching around. If there is any big movement on my side, it is estimated that a war will break out directly with the Bankai pirates. Although I don't want to admit it, I'm not a match for the Bankai pirates with my strength. The current Ace is much more rational than the Ace in the origin story. After all, he has been sitting in the position of the 4 emperors for several years, and he has a lot of people to assist him. He still has a sense of the overall situation. Although sometimes he will be very impulsive, more often he will calm down and think about some problems. But this time before he came, he was ready to fight with the Bankai pirates. Chen Tian taught them in the past. When Ace just became one of the 4 emperors, he also visited Chen Tian and asked him many questions about cultivation. So he knows Chen Tian very well. If Luffy offends Chen Tian in Dressrosa today, he will definitely not have a good result. And Ace also knows that the little affection at the beginning has ended when Chen Tian guided him to develop things. If Luffy really offended Chen Tian, he would definitely not let the other party let Luffy go for the sake of his reputation. Of course, these are not the most critical reasons. The real key is that Luffy was too young at that time and probably didn't remember Chen Tian at all. Moreover, with Luffy's personality, he would definitely confront Chen Tian. Luffy, he should have reached the palace now. The dark side of this country has been completely shaken out by him. Doflamingo should be very angry now, right? After a short silence, Sabo said seriously, "In fact, if it was just Doflamingo, then there would be no problem at all. But the most troublesome thing is Chen Tian of the Bankai pirates. He is now in the palace of Dressrosa. If Luffy offends him." At this point, Sabo and Ace's faces twitched several times. With Luffy's personality, it's not a question of whether he will offend Chen Tian, but that he will definitely offend Chen Tian. Especially Sabo, he was the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army, and the Revolutionary Army had cooperated with Chen Tian in the past, so the leader of the revolution, Long, had met Chen Tian in person. Sabo still remembers that he once asked the leader Long why he sold the devil fruit to Chen Tian at such a cheap price. Is Chen Tian so powerful that the Revolutionary Army is no match for him? Although Long did not answer him directly, Sabo still remembers Long's extremely serious expression at that time. So he was very clear about the strength of Chen Tian. After the two looked at each other, they ran towards Wangzagao. If Luffy really messed with Chen Tian, it would be a big deal. "Hey, are you the mastermind behind Doflamingo?" What you worry about will come true. The great Luffy put on the arrogant look of the son of the world at this moment, standing only a dozen meters away from Chen Tian and speaking. He was just about to point a finger at Chen Tian's nose. Seeing such a scene, not to mention Trafalgaro who was tied to the chair, even Baby 5 and Doflamingo who had just brought the things over were stunned, and their jaws almost dropped to the ground. To be honest, Doflamingo said that he had never seen such an arrogant person since he was a child, and even he himself was not so arrogant. Because when you are arrogant, you always have to look at who is in front of you. It's okay to pretend in front of others, but pretend in front of Chen Tian, believe it or not, he will bury you directly. Well, it seems that I went to the wrong set. It should be that Chen Tian will twist your head off directly. The Wanji pirates who reign over the new world are like the ghosts and monsters that shocked the world through a war at the top of the marine headquarters in Marineford. Such an existence can be easily provoked, let alone the era of supernova evil. Even if one of the four emperors pretends to be so in front of Chen Tian, it is estimated that there will be no good end. But in his heart, Doflamingo had to give Luffy a thumbs up. He was still thinking about how to deal with the current situation in Dressrosa, whether to open the birdcage or not, but now he instantly found the best way. Come on, little Straw Hat, little Luffy, the future Pirate King, the real son of destiny, as long as you continue to provoke Chen Tian, I, the Sky Yasha, will call you anything. Ha 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 ha. Hearing Luffy's shout, Chen Tian laughed out loud, covering his face. He couldn't help laughing while covering his face. Sure enough, this is a sense of deja vu. It's so interesting, Straw Hat Boy. But this is a real world. You suddenly rushed out like this and said some irrelevant and arrogant words in front of me. Have you thought about what the consequences will be? When the last sentence came out, Chen Tian slowly stood up and his eyes fell on Luffy. Looking at the protagonist of this world, he was also thinking about something in his heart. Should the protagonist of this pirate world let him stop here? However, with his current status and strength, isn't it a bit like bullying the weak to kill Luffy directly? So Chen Tian still kindly advised, if you continue to make a fuss here, the consequences will not be something you can bear. If you want to continue walking on this sea, leave here now. Because of the friendship in the past, Chen Tian decided to give Luffy another chance. As long as he turned around and left here, he would treat what happened today as if it had never happened. If Luffy is stubborn, then Chen Tian has no way to deal with it. You can't let the other party want to kill you, and you are still here to be killed, right? Consequences? I don't know what the consequences are, but I know that you have captured Traman and done unforgivable things to this country. If you are Doflamingo's backer, I will definitely beat you up. Luffy didn't know who he was facing at all, but even if he knew, he would probably say the same thing and do the same thing. After all, in the original plot, he also took direct action when facing Kaido in Wano country, although he was quickly warned by Thunder Bagua at that time. Chapter 333, Crushing the Three Brothers. At this time, if Chen Tian was not here, Doflamingo would definitely applaud Luffy crazily. Even he himself would not mind coming over quickly and winning an award for Luffy. The best suicide award. Apart from Luffy, no one in the entire ocean could bear this honor. Even Doflamingo felt a little sympathy for Law, who was held on the ground. This is called not being afraid of godlike opponents, but being afraid of pig-like teammates. 15 minutes. Chen Tian slowly walked towards Luffy's position. He did not even plan to use his Mingdao Zao. He just walked forward with his bare hands. I'm the only one who can fight. If you can survive for 15 minutes, I will spare your life. Since Luffy ignored his kindness, Chen Tian had nothing to hesitate about. Bang! A loud bang broke out, and Luffy was directly knocked out of the King's Highland by a powerful force. After landing, his eyes rolled back, and he almost lost consciousness. The next moment, a figure full of powerful strength appeared like thunder, and appeared beside Luffy. Chen Tian looked indifferent at this moment. To put it bluntly, he didn't take Luffy seriously at all, even if he was the original protagonist of this world. Just like what he said to Luffy, this is a real story, and in the real world, everyone must abide by an iron law. The strong prey on the weak. Luffy in this world has not experienced the war on the top, nor has he experienced the death of Ace. Even if he still received Rayleigh's teachings, his character is not as good as Luffy in the original plot. Moreover, even Luffy in the original plot is definitely not Chen Tian's opponent. Luffy, who was warned by Kaido's thunder gossip, is no different from an ant in Chen Tian's hands. Bang! At this moment, Chen Tian punched Luffy hard, and the Straw Hat Boy, who was already knocked away, now fell to the ground like a cannonball. The moment he landed, a loud bang broke out, creating a huge deep pit. Chen Tian slowly descended from the sky, stood beside the deep pit, and said jokingly, "Your strength is not very good, but your ability to withstand blows is quite good. Even the Vice Admiral of the Navy headquarters couldn't bear the punch just now, and you can still stand up." In the center of the deep pit in front of him, Luffy stood up panting, and his face finally became solemn at this moment. He has never felt such a huge gap in strength. From the time he went to sea to now, among all the enemies he met, none of them could be compared with Chen Tian. The gap between the 7 warlords of the sea and the man before is simply a world of difference. Even his grandfather Garp and his master Rayleigh were not so terrifying in terms of perception. "Hey, who are you?" Luffy suddenly let out a cry, but his words did make Chen Tian a little confused. Should I say that he is worthy of being Luffy? He has been warned by himself one after another, but he still doesn't know who he is. If he didn't have the halo of the protagonist, I really don't know how such a fool could survive on the sea, just relying on his insignificant strength in the eyes of the strong. Even if you don't remember your childhood, but you have come to the new world, you should at least pay attention to who is the master here. Luffy. Luffy. Suddenly 2 figures rushed to Luffy's side like lightning, and the 2 of them looked at Chen Tian vigilantly at this moment. Their silly brother didn't know who he was facing, but Ace and Sabo knew it very well. Speaking of which, if it weren't for the powerful enemy at hand, the 2 of them really wanted to beat Luffy up. Is the demon god Chen Tian also someone you can provoke now? Oh, it's Sabo. It seems that you have recovered your memory. Is this family going to be reunited? The 3 brothers are gathered together like this. It's really interesting. Seeing the 3 people standing together, Chen Tian's eyes flashed with light, and he chuckled and said, "But I'm very committed to my promise. If you are still alive after 15 minutes, I will not continue to attack you. By the way, there is no time for you 3 brothers to continue reminiscing. There are still 14 minutes left." Chen Tian dodged and rushed forward directly. He still had no intention of drawing his sword. This battle was just a game for him. Dragon Claw Fist, Dragon Hook Claw. Sabo's reaction was the fastest among the 3 brothers. He immediately raised his head towards Chen Tian, with a pitch black armed color domineering wrapped around his arm, and hit Chen Tian with a powerful blow. He knew very well that he could not be Chen Tian's opponent at all, but in this situation, he had to take action anyway. At the same time, Ace also leaped up and locked onto Chen Tian, who was about to collide with Sabo in midair. He turned his arm into a huge flame with a very high temperature, and then punched out fiercely, Fire Fist. After becoming one of the 4 emperors, Ace was very focused on developing his fruit ability, and the direction of his development was to increase the temperature of his flame. In the past few years, Ace, as one of the 4 emperors, has hardly made a move, so people don't know how strong he is, but to be able to firmly sit on the throne of the 4 emperors, he must at least have the strength of an admiral. It's just that I didn't expect that the direction of his fruit development was guided by Chen Zhi, but the person he finally dealt with was also Chen Tian. The flames from this punch were orange-red, and the temperature reached more than 1000. At this temperature, it was basically not weaker than a Kanu's magma. It's a pity that a Kanu in this world has been killed by Chen Tian, otherwise it would be possible to try whether a Kanu can still arrogantly use his own magma to burn the flames out. But after thinking about it carefully, Chen Tian shook his head again, because before Ace, he had used the cold spirit bone fire to teach a Kanu to be a human. Seeing that his 2 brothers had all taken action, Luffy was naturally unwilling to fall behind. He did not hesitate to activate his 4th gear, Elastic Man form. Although the time of training with Rayleigh was much shorter, he still developed this special form, Rubber Ape King Gun. With the help of this elastic force, Luffy flew towards Chen Tian like a cannonball, and at the same time, his fist was retracted into his body to accumulate powerful strength, and then blasted out quickly. Even Doflamingo couldn't withstand his attack. But it was a pity that they were not facing Doflamingo, but Chen Tian. Chen Tian, who had merged with the strength of the Hulk, did not even bother to use his abnormal speed to avoid the attack when facing the three brothers. With his current physical strength, the attacks of the three brothers at this time could not hurt him at all. Even if there was such a possibility, he would recover quickly by self-healing. The armament haki is too weak. If you eat the tremor fruit, maybe you can scratch my itch. Chen Tian's punch collided with Sabo's dragon claw and directly knocked the Revolutionary Army Chief of Staff out. Then he quickly turned his head and looked at Ace in the air. A white flame appeared in his hand. The fruit is well developed, but it's far from enough. Let me show you what real flame is. The pale sea of fire broke out instantly, completely submerging Ace's fire fist in one breath, and even rushed directly towards Ace. Finally, he set his sights on Luffy, and then his right arm suddenly became several times larger, and the terrifying muscles were filled with strength. The name of haki has no effect. As long as the power is strong enough, a simple punch can break all your moves. Boom. A punch made a huge explosion, and in an instant it rushed straight into the sky. Chen Tian was completely crushed by the three brothers. Chapter 334 Battle. It was a pure crushing, a meaningless fight. Even Ace, one of the four emperors, had no strength to fight against Chen Tian. Chen Tian, who had surpassed the world level limit, was already completely above the four emperors. As for how much stronger he was than the emperor and the admiral, to be honest, Chen Tian himself was not very clear. You're fighting so fancy. Is it already over after 3 minutes? I gave you 15 minutes not to hone you, but to see if that red-haired guy had any meaning, to live with his arm blocked with your future self. Chen Tian stood in place, his eyes slowly sweeping over the three brothers. Except for Ace, who looked a little better, it was not easy for the other two guys to stand up now. It seems that there is not much point in letting you live now. I came to Dressrosa to travel, but you want to die yourself, so you can't blame me. There are still 12 minutes, but the game should be over now. As soon as the words fell, Minato Zhu was pulled out of the scabbard by him. The cold light flashed on the sword, which would make everyone on the sea feel afraid. The sword itself has its name, but what makes the sword more vivid is the person holding it. It is well known that the sword held by Hawkeye Mihawk, the world's #1 swordsman, is called Black Blade Knight. But if Black Blade Knight was held by an ordinary swordsman, his reputation might not be as loud as it is now. Minato is one of the 12 supreme swords, but because it has not appeared in the world for too long, almost no one in this sea knows of its existence. After Chen Tian held this sword, his name is even louder than other supreme swords. At this moment, after Chen Tian drew out the sword, it meant that everything was over, and his eyes gradually became cold as the blade was unsheathed. With the game-like battle just now, the idea of playing in his heart has been completely restrained, and now his eyes are looking at the enemy. In fact, he had no ill will towards Luffy from the beginning, otherwise he would not have taught Luffy and his three brothers for a period of time. But since coming to Dressrosa, Luffy has taken the initiative to seek death again and again, and he was willing to become an enemy against himself, so Chen Tian would naturally not be reluctant to do it, just because they had been together for only 2 months. There is an old saying that it is difficult to persuade a damned ghost with good words. Chen Tian did give him a chance, but Luffy never cherished it. You bastard, come to me if you have anything to do. Don't hurt Ace and Sabo, otherwise I will kill you. Luffy stood up with all his strength. Although he was a fool, he still cared about brotherhood. He just didn't know how to weigh his own strength, and he didn't think about what he said. He dared to threaten Chen Tian at this time. I really don't know how much paste is in his brain. It seems that there is no problem to go after you. If you hadn't suddenly jumped out like a rat, I should still be watching the drama in the room, or watching the game in the arena. I don't know if the Red Ale has killed the other guys. Chen Tian raised the long sword in his hand high, took a deep breath, and the huge power around him spread in all directions like a flame. But it exuded an extremely cold breath. Under this terrifying momentum, cracks appeared on the ground around it, and the buildings began to collapse. Even though the long sword had not fallen yet, one could feel how powerful this sword would be. Luffy, in the palace, Zoro, who had just been fighting with Piker, stuck his head out from nowhere and shouted loudly. As a swordsman, he knew better than anyone how powerful the slash that Chen Tian was about to swing was. Even the world's #1 swordsman, Hawky Mihawk, could only make such a slash at most, and it might not even be as powerful as Chen Tian's slash. It was not because of Hawky's attainments in swordsmanship, but because he was far inferior to Chen Tian in terms of the power of refining. There is a saying that goes, one force can break all methods. If Hawky faces Chen Tian, this is the case. No matter how exquisite Hawky's moves are, as long as Chen Tian slashes with brute force, you can't bear it. This level of power is enough, otherwise I'm afraid that I will break the secret of Dressrosa, shattering the sky. As this cold voice fell, the long sword also fell with a bang, and everything in front of Chen Tian seemed to be directly shattered by this sword. It was as if the whole world was broken at this moment. Generally, the cracks that were clearly visible to the naked eye made it difficult to imagine that this was caused by a slash. This level of slash, let alone Luffy, even the 4 emperors and admirals, might not be able to block it. After all, a few years ago, Chen Tian used this move of shattering the sky, which made the admirals at that time feel the power that they could not bear. Although he did not burst out with all his strength now, the power he used was indeed stronger than the one he burst out with all his strength a few years ago. The vast sword energy like the sea rushed towards Luffy in an instant. Once swallowed by this completely erupted sword energy, Luffy would definitely not have any possibility of survival. In this real world, he has an identity and background, and his family background and talent are still strong, but he does not have the protagonist halo that can protect him from death. In the Silent Sea area away from Dressrosa, the Redfish was sailing fast. "Captain, are you worried about something?" Kiraru walked to Shanks' side, looked at Shanks with a frown and a dark look between his eyebrows, and asked with some concern. "I'm just a little uneasy. I don't know what the situation in Dressrosa is like." Shanks looked in the direction of Dressrosa. They were sailing at the fastest speed, but it would still take half an hour to reach Dressrosa. "Are you afraid that he will provoke someone from the Bankai pirates?" Ben Beckman said in a deep voice at this time, "But it is normal to have this worry. With that kid's personality, it is indeed very likely that he will provoke the Bankai pirates. Even if you tell me that he will directly challenge the demon god Chen Tian, I will not be surprised at all. If he only provokes someone from the Bankai pirates, it is fine. It is no problem to pay some price to get some face from Chen Tian, but I'm worried that he will provoke Chen Tian directly. According to previous news, Chen Tian and that Lacus are both in Dressrosa. If Luffy really provokes him directly, it will be dangerous." This is what Shanks is really worried about. He knows Luffy too well, and it is precisely because of this understanding that he is worried. Get ready for a fight. If Luffy really provokes Chen Tian, then this time we will have to go to war with the Bankai pirates head on. For Shanks, Luffy is of great significance. He is betting the future of the world with one arm. Even if he has to go to war with the powerful Bankai pirates, he must protect Luffy. Dressrosa. No. Just when the sword energy was about to drown Luffy, a figure suddenly rushed out and stood in front of Luffy without hesitation, and then a bowler hat with goggles fell down, accompanied by blood flying everywhere. Morning skies shattering sky is a powerful killing skill. People below the level of admirals and 4 emperors basically have no chance of survival in front of this sword. Even the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army, Sabo, is no exception. Chapter 335 Emperor Yan. At the last moment, Sabo used his body to block Chen Tian's knife, but under this knife, he had absolutely no chance of survival. The chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army fell under Chen Tian's long knife without a doubt. It seems that we have caused some trouble. In this case, Dragon's Revolutionary Army will also be the enemy of my Wanji pirates, right? Although he said so, Chen Tian's expression did not care much. The Wanji pirates are now so powerful that they can face the whole world. In addition to the reagents that have a useful life of 800 years, he has no confidence in winning against the government, and he really doesn't take other forces seriously. Although the Revolutionary Army is not weak, the Wanji pirates are stronger and will become stronger and stronger. Seeing his brother die in front of him to protect him, Luffy was stunned on the spot, and his whole body became sluggish, with unbelievable and tears in his eyes. He had not experienced the war at the top and the death of Ace, and after seeing such a scene, he simply couldn't bear the blow. They had just met and finally found out that Sabo was still alive, but they didn't expect that he would be killed by Chen Tian so soon. He and Ace spent a long time to accept Sabo's death and then went to sea with Sabo's dream to fulfill the promise made by the three brothers in their childhood. Now Sabo is back. They are very happy, but the joy at the moment of reunion is as great as the despair in their hearts when Sabo died in front of them. There are still 10 minutes left. If each of you can hold on for 5 minutes, then at the last moment, I should be able to send you two to reunite with him. Chen Tian didn't care about the other party's mood at the moment. He didn't need to care. The one who attacked him was the enemy. If you can hold on for the remaining 10 minutes, you still have a chance to collect his body. Unlike Luffy, who couldn't bear the blow and had completely lost his mind, Ace stood up at this time, his face full of anger and murderous intent. He walked step by step from the direction where Chen Tian was, and the temperature around him seemed to rise with his anger. Even Chen Tian felt a little bit of burning heat at this moment, as if the sun in the sky was getting closer, so the temperature rose so horribly. And because of this horrible temperature, the space in front of him seemed to be distorted. There was no moisture in the air, which made people feel extremely dry. The color of the flame on his body began to change at this moment, and some white flames began to emerge. The temperature continued to grow wildly, approaching 3000 degrees, which is almost twice the temperature of a volcano's magma. It seems that you need to take it seriously now. Everyone thinks you are the weakest among the four emperors, but from the current situation, even if you are not the strongest, you are at least not the weakest. With this level of flame alone, I don't think that Gaijin Shizi can beat you. Of course, if you learn a little more swordsmanship at this time, holding a famous sword and shouting Ryujin Jaka, maybe I will turn around and run away. Although he still looked like he was joking, Chen Tian's expression was much more serious than before. It must be said that the temperature of the flame emanating from Ace at this moment made him feel threatened. And judging from the current situation, Chen Tian felt that Ace still had not developed the ability of the flame fruit to its full potential, and the highest temperature of the flame was not just the current level. However, it was unknown how high it could be raised in this world. After all, it was just a weak world. I'll only give you 5 minutes this time. At this time, Ace's body was burning with flames, and his eyes were staring at Chen Tian fiercely, filled with murderous intent and hatred. He was not going to give Chen Tian 5 minutes to live, but to use these 5 minutes to burn Chen Tian to death and avenge Sabo himself. Because his current state could only last for 5 minutes, the increase in the temperature of the flame did strengthen his aggressiveness, but it also consumed a huge amount of his own physical strength. The conservation of energy is a truth, and it is inevitable, no matter where you are. Listening to Ace's words, Chen Tian shook his head with a smile. Ace's current state is still a little short of Whitebird, and I really don't know where he got the confidence to get rid of himself. Moreover, shouldn't Luffy be blamed for Sabo's death? If he hadn't rushed in to find trouble with me, none of this would have happened. Besides, I gave Luffy more than one chance. What can I do if he doesn't know how to cherish it? I'm helpless too. Looking at Ace's current appearance, does he hope that when Luffy attacks him, he will not fight back at all and let Luffy kill him? It's really funny. In an instant, Ace rushed directly towards Chen Tian with a white flame, accompanied by his fists bombarding with a scorching breath, and directly wanted to burn this street. TSK. The speed is a bit slow. The fierce flames also directly submerged Chen Tian's figure. But the flames did not really act on his body, but only passed through the afterimage he left, and then hit this street. You must know that the most powerful point of the original achievement was speed. Although his vitality became extremely tenacious later, his speed was not affected at all. In other words, if your strength is strong enough, it may not be a difficult thing for you to defeat Chen Tian, but if you want to kill Chen Tian, it will be more difficult than ascending to the sky. Secret, cold spirit slash. Suddenly, Chen Tian's voice came from the other side of the flames, and then a slash covered with white flames came from that direction, directly expanding the sea of fire from the middle, and then went straight to Ace. The powerful force on the long sword rushed up to the sky at this moment, and the flames around him had no way to get close to his body. However, when he launched the attack, there was a brief blank, which also made him feel abnormally hot. but his body at this moment was extremely strong, and this burning could not really affect his battle, and it was even more ridiculous to hurt him. On the contrary, Ace was facing the cold spirit / covered and entangled by the armament haki, and it was impossible for her to withstand this attack head on. He was a natural devil fruit ability user, and the armament haki could touch her body. 8 minutes left. Chen Tian carried the long sword on his shoulder and said calmly, "Stop being so arrogant, Chen Tian." Ace clasped his hands in front of him, and violent flames poured out at this moment, surrounding his body violently and madly. Big flame ring, flame emperor. After a loud shout, he made a lifting motion upwards, and a fireball like the sun condensed and formed in his palm. The terrifying flames even formed a scorching storm around. When this fireball was formed, the temperature of his flames really reached 3000 degrees, which was equivalent to the terrifying temperature of the surface of the sun. He wanted to use this crazy flame to turn Chen Tian into ashes. Big flame ring, flame emperor. It was once Ace's strongest move, but he still lost to Blackbird's dark fruit ability when he used this move. But that was the original world, and to be honest, Ace now would never lose, even if he faced Blackbird who had the dark fruit ability. The power of this move of Flame Emperor is definitely not comparable to the Flame Emperor of the original world. This terrifying temperature alone is enough to annihilate countless enemies. And who knows if Ace's most powerful move now is still this entry move. Chapter 336 Flame God. If you let this move fall, this island will be destroyed, right? Chen Tian looked up at the huge fireball in Ace's hand, which was like the sun, and was slightly surprised. Such a powerful force was worthy of his title of the Four Emperors. At this moment, a very interesting idea suddenly flashed through his mind. He immediately stretched out his right palm, and then a pitch black energy ball appeared in his hand. This energy ball quickly rotated and absorbed the power in Chen Tian's body crazily. In just a few breaths, a black energy ball that was equally huge, and no less than the Flame Emperor appeared in Chen Tian's hand, and he also looked up at Ace in the air. He chuckled and said, "I don't know why this feeling always reminds me of a guy who has been rolling balls all his life." It should be said that the way he and Ace are fighting now really looks like a yellow-haired fool rolling balls. Fortunately, this is the world of pirates, otherwise Ace would not shout out the great flame ring, Flame Emperor, but fire release, Rasengan, Flame Emperor's technique. But speaking of it, Chen Tian also missed the little guy Naruto, but in order to allow the Naruto world to continue to develop, he and his good friend Sasuke will continue to stay there. I didn't understand what you were saying from the beginning, but it doesn't matter anymore. Just turn to ashes. With the sound of Yamato, Ace directly threw the huge fireball in his hand towards Chen Tian. At the same time, Chen Tian urged the energy ball in his hand and hit it directly. The moment the energy ball touched Yandi, the huge energy ball instantly turned into layers of white flames, bursting out with an extremely cold breath, and even felt like it was going to completely freeze Ace's flames. Although it exuded a terrifying cold air, the visual effect was a blazing white flame. Just now, when he saw the little sun in Ace's hand, Chen Tian also had an idea and directly gathered the cold spirit bone fire in his body into a ball, colliding with Ace's flame. Although they are both flames, one is high temperature and the other is icy cold. I don't know which one will be better. Boom. Or thunderous roar shook the whole Dressrosa island. The might of a 4 emperor level warrior fighting against a warrior who surpassed the 4 emperors was extremely terrifying. The main problem was the battle between Chen Tian and Ace. No one else could intervene. The only people who could intervene in the battle in Dressrosa were Admiral Fujitora, Hatake Kakashi, and Red Earl Redfield. But they would not intervene easily, or they had no reason to intervene. Bang! Another fierce explosion. Ace was directly pushed back more than 10 steps by the aftermath of the two powerful forces. He stared at Chen Tian in front of him, and then shouted to Zoro who was approaching here, "Take Luffy away quickly, don't think about attacking him, he is not an enemy you can defeat." It should be said that no one in the entire sea can be his opponent. He is more terrifying than Whitebird in the past. He is the strongest man in the world in the true sense. What Ace said at this moment is probably what many people think. Chen Tian's strength is beyond doubt. There is nothing wrong with saying that he is the strongest man in the world. This can be seen from his record during the war at the top. And he also knows that Chen Tian has not really used his full strength until now, at least the speed that is so fast that it makes people hallucinate has not been used. Then the question comes at this time. If they say that Chen Tian is the strongest man in the world, where does it put my guy? Fortunately, they are talking about the strongest man in the world. If they say that Chen Tian is the strongest man in the world, Lacus would probably have some emotions. Now Ace has finally recognized the reality and knows that he can't burn himself to death to avenge Sabo. Chen Tian nodded with satisfaction. I have helped another young man to recognize himself, which is a great merit. There are still 7 minutes left. You want to slip away from my eyes before the time is up. You look down on me too much, don't you? Suddenly, Chen Tian raised his right hand and pointed at Zoro, who just lifted Luffy. A powerful force rushed out at this moment. Due to the fast speed, it was a little unclear, but Ace barely noticed it with his observation haki. Chen Tian used an air cannon similar to a gun finger. Bang! With Chen Tian's strong physical strength, the power of this attack should not be underestimated, and Zoro obviously did not have the qualifications to withstand this attack. The moment he was touched by the gun finger, Zoro flew backwards more than 10 meters, and Luffy in his arms fell to the side. At this moment, he could only endure the pain in his body and try to stand up again. As for how serious his injuries were at this moment, only he knew. Damn it, it seems that I can only use that move. Although I'm not proficient in it myself, and it may even destroy everything here, this is the only choice now. Ace's eyes turned cold at this time, and then the flames around him began to surge wildly, directly turning the area within 100 meters into a sea of fire. Then these flames rushed straight into the sky, and the body around him began to change rapidly, becoming a huge figure like a god. Super large flame ring flame god. The roar came from Ace's mouth, and then a towering flame giant appeared in everyone's eyes. On the neck of this giant, there is also a red bead necklace like Ace, but this giant is made entirely of flames. This flame giant is really big. Chen Tian now suspects that Ace is actually the real protagonist of this world. From the temperature of the flame to the super large flame ball that Ace rubbed out, and now he has come up with this move of Flame God. It looks similar to opening Susanoo. Obviously, I just planned Ace's future according to Enelu's Thunder God and Uchiha's Susanoo in the previous world, but who knew that he could actually develop it? With his ability to develop these moves, what does Luffy need? Give Ace a few more years, and he can save the world. Of course, the premise of all this is that Chen Tian told Ace the development direction of these moves when he had nothing to do. Although Ace is still not a threat to Chen Tian now, Chen Tian always feels like he is shooting himself in the foot. At the beginning, he happily helped the other party to improve his strength, but now the other party is full of murderous intent and is fighting against him. It's really enough. Very good power. I didn't expect you to be able to develop it. As I said, everyone on the sea underestimated you, Ace. This move alone is enough to make you the first of the 4 emperors, but how long can you last in this state? 1 minute or 2 minutes? Chen Tian looked at Ace, who had transformed into the god of fire, and then said slowly. He had to admit that Ace, who had transformed into the god of fire, was very powerful, but this kind of power could never last. Because the aura that Ace exudes now can almost be said to be standing at the top of the 4 emperors. If Ace can maintain this state, then no one among the emperor level strongmen can defeat him alone. Even Whitebeard in his youngest and heyday is probably only 50-50 with Ace, who permanently maintains the form of the Flame God. Chapter 337, The Pirate King's Right Hand. As expected of the demon god Chen Tian, I can only maintain this state for 1 minute, but this minute is enough for me to kill you. As soon as Ace finished speaking, a huge flaming fist smashed directly at Chen Tian. The air around him began to vibrate under this terrifying force. His punch was enough to destroy an island, and the temperature of the flames might be a little exaggerated to say that it could burn mountains and boil seas, but it was not much different. There was only 1 minute, so he didn't intend to waste any time. After this minute, although he would not become completely powerless like Luffy after Gear 4, he would be quite weak. At the moment, when his fist fell, many illusory white flowers suddenly appeared between the world. These flowers contained fierce murderous intent and endless power. and as these flowers became more and more solid, the surrounding space slowly emerged with visible cracks. I don't know whether the space was cracked by the powerful force contained in the flowers, or whether it was just cracking the air. But no matter which possibility it was, it could reflect the powerful power exuded by Chen Tian at this moment. He held the long sword in his hands tightly with both hands, and his eyes were extremely calm, with almost no special fluctuations. Mystery cold spirit flower falling. A plain voice came out slowly from his mouth, and then he slashed forward with a knife. As the long sword in his hand fell, the flowers all over the world suddenly opened. The flowers bloomed and fell, and the flowers in the mirror also shattered at this moment. In an instant, endless power and sword energy burst out from the flowers, wantonly impacting everything around. Even the flames were dispersed by this terrifying power, and the sharp sword energy completely tore everything apart, emerging a scene like hell, with the withering of white petals accompanied by the withering and end of life. Chen Tian used this move once, when he was in the Marine headquarters Marineford, and the result of that time was to kill the Navy Admiral Sakazuki and seriously injure a group of high-level officers in the Navy headquarters. It also caused the combat effectiveness of the middle and low-level Navy to lose more than 1/3, almost wiping out the entire Marineford. The land below the palace was already in pieces. All the buildings were destroyed and torn apart. There were visible cracks all over the ground, and there were still flames burning. On this land, the only figure standing was Chen Tian. He had no injuries on his body, and even his clothes were not damaged at all. He slowly put the long sword into his scabbard, and his eyes calmly stared at the front. Ace was half kneeling on the ground, and gasping for breath. There were at least a dozen sword scars on his body. The blood that overflowed turned him into a bloody man. He even had a hard time opening his eyes. The power of the slash just now made him feel that, even if a year had passed, he would probably not be able to forget it. His flame god was directly torn apart by the terrifying power and sword energy, and then it attacked his body crazily. Under the influence of that powerful force, that was not like a human, not only was his body slashed by the sword energy, but even his internal organs were violently impacted. At this time, it was extremely difficult for him to even stand up, so he had to half kneel on the ground. It's over, Ace. I set the time for 5 minutes, but your brother doesn't seem to hold on until then. Chen Tian pointed to the position behind Ace and said calmly. Hearing this, Ace showed a panic on his face. He quickly looked back, but he saw the scene he least wanted to see. Luffy and Zoro had fallen in a pool of blood at this moment. The very conspicuous straw hat was in tatters at this moment, and the two men became lifeless. Chen Tian's flower falling just now was not aimed at Ace alone. He targeted this space. Everyone within the scope could not avoid this move. This was the case during the previous war on the top. Countless people fell under the flower falling, forming a hell-like battlefield, with blood flowing like a river and corpses piled up like a mountain. Chen Tian. Ace suddenly roared and wanted to stand up and continue to attack Chen Tian, but his body did not allow him to do so. Just when he was trying to stand up, he fell to the ground. Don't be so anxious, you will be going down to accompany them soon. You three brothers can have a good reunion in hell. Chen Tian's expression still did not fluctuate. He just raised a finger towards the place where Ace was. The strong power gathered directly into an air bomb, and then, bang. It seemed like the sound of a gunshot. The air bomb directly hit Ace's head. In Ace's current state, if he was hit by Chen Tian's air bomb, there would be absolutely no possibility of survival. The three brothers could only meet in hell. But at this moment, a figure flashed quickly and appeared directly in front of Ace, and then without hesitation, he chopped the air bomb with an axe. The majestic armed color domineering aura poured out crazily at this moment, directly hitting the air bomb. Boom. The roar sounded, and as the air bomb exploded and dissipated, a little old man wearing glasses appeared in front of Chen Tian. He smiled with his mouth wide open, his eyes under the glasses, stared at Chen Tian, refusing to leave for a moment, and then slowly said, Master Demon, can we stop here this time? After all, it was the Straw Hat Kid who provoked you, not Ace, right? Seeing the appearance of this old man, Chen Tian felt that, although it was a little unexpected, it was still reasonable. Haha, even an old antique like you has come out to participate in the tide of this era. Spark jabber. Spark jabber. Chen Tian really didn't expect that this old guy would appear in Dressrosa, because according to the intelligence of the 10,000 Worlds pirates, Jabba did not come out to help Ace. But now it seems that this former crew member of the Pirate King, the existence second only to Pluto Rayleigh under Goldie Roger, still can't completely let go of the past, so he appeared here in person and saved Ace, who was about to be killed by himself at the most critical moment. Although he is old, Jabba's strength is not weak, which can be seen from the action of splitting his air bullet just now. Although the power of the air bomb just now was not too great, it would take at least the strength of a vice admiral of the Marine headquarters to split it in one blow. And this former crew member of the Pirate King, and second only to Rayleigh, if he only had the strength of the Navy headquarters, it would be unreasonable. Even though he is already old, he should be close to the admiral at least stronger than Doflamingo. But it is a pity that he is still too weak for Chen Tian. Jabba, if you are alone, it would be too arrogant to want to save someone from my men. Even if I continue to calculate the previous time, you can't stop the last 5 minutes. Chen Tian deliberately made a gesture of looking at his watch, and then smiled faintly. He did not deny that Jabba's strength was very strong. After all, he was someone who followed the Pirate King. It would be strange if he was not strong enough. But after all, Jabba is old, and his strength has surpassed the admirals and the 4 emperors, so just a Jabba can't stop him. Chen Tian, it would be great if you could give him some face now, so that I don't have to come out. To be honest, if it weren't for Ace, I really don't want to fight you. At this time, the white-haired old man also walked out of the ruins on the side. He stared at Chen Tian with one hand on the long sword at his waist. We two old guys are out. Why don't we ask the demon god Chen Tian to give him some face and let Ace go? How about it? Except for the one in Champadi, the old man with Jabba would not choose to stand up at this time. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 338, The Death of the Straw Hats. Doflamingo's intelligence was really poor. Of course, his own pirates of the worlds did not realize that these two old guys had landed on Dressrosa. Pluto Rayleigh, there is one thing that I'm very curious about. Straw Hat Boy is your disciple, right? And that Zoro, his swordsmanship also has your shadow in it. Why didn't you make a move just now? Chen Tian was indeed a little strange. He didn't know what Rayleigh was thinking, and he didn't even make a move to help his disciple. If he didn't intend to make a move, he wouldn't make a move at this time to save Ace, so Chen Tian didn't understand this. Hearing this, Rayleigh turned his head to look at the bodies of Luffy and Zoro, then shook his head and focused his attention on Chen Tian again. He said in a deep voice, "It's not a master and apprentice relationship. I just took care of them for a while for Shank's sake. And that kid is a bit like Roger back then, but I won't let him fight a monster like you." Chen Tian almost understood it. Because of his appearance, Luffy and Rayleigh no longer had the same relationship as Zio Bay, because all the members of the Dragon Pirates were dealt with by Chen Tian before. Secondly, there was no Luffy's confrontation with the Fishmen and the Celestial Dragons on the Sabaody Archipelago. During that time, they noticed that the Bankei Pirates had landed on the Sabaody Archipelago. In that case, no matter how stupid the Celestial Dragons were, they would not go to the island to bully others, unless they were not afraid of being beheaded by Chen Tian. Finally, it is probably because of the existence of Ace that these two old guys did not pay so much attention to Luffy. So the protagonist of the world without the protagonist's halo is a dead thing, just like Chen Tian himself felt that if he didn't have a system, he would have died in Sincon long ago. If you say so, I understand. So now, are you going to fight me or take the place of the 3 brothers? There is only one left now, but it doesn't matter. There are still 5 minutes left. The two of you may be able to stop it together. Chen Tian's eyes condensed, and his momentum surged again. The domineering aura swept in all directions. Such a strong momentum pressed on Rayleigh and Jabba, as heavy as a mountain. This is the world. Even if Chen Tian and Rayleigh have a good relationship, when the positions are opposite, they will still take action without hesitation. In the original War on the Top, Garp was Ace's grandfather, but he still watched Ace fall in the headquarters of the Navy without helping him. This is the position in this world, and he can influence the behavior of many people. Hey, old man, this guy's probably more powerful than Whitebird, right? Jabba's face was a little ugly at this time. He had heard of the reputation of the demon god Chen Tian a long time ago, but seeing it with his own eyes, and feeling his majestic momentum in person, the feeling is always completely different from what he heard. Be more confident, old man. Remove the 3 words maybe. Chen Tian kid is definitely more powerful than Whitebird, and he now gives me the feeling that he is even more powerful than Whitebird when he was young. Rayleigh clenched his sword at this time. His expression was extremely solemn. Every time he saw Chen Tian, the other party would have a drastic change. Come back to the story. Chen Tian, you just chatted with us 2 old guys. 5 minutes should have passed a long time ago, right? I pressed pause. After all, I didn't wear a watch, so you didn't see me stop the clock. Chen Tian shrugged, and his words were indeed a bit rogue. Don't worry, I will tell you next time, so that you can be more clear about the time. Hearing this, the 2 old men Rayleigh and Jabba couldn't help but twitch their mouths twice. Good boy, you are still pausing here, so should we 2 old guys raise our hands and shout immortal heroes? The guys lying on the ground will be resurrected with a burst of golden light. You still press pause on time. Do you think you are playing a game? Luffy. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from behind Chen Tian. Shanks stared at the lifeless body lying in a pool of blood with his eyes wide open. He couldn't help but tremble. Anger soon filled his brain, and anger emerged in his eyes. The uncontrollable domineering aura was spreading wildly at this moment, and even the damaged land and ruined buildings around were shaken by his terrifying domineering aura. Ah, is it Shanks? I knew you would come here, but I came a little late. I have completely ended your and future. This sentence came out of Chen Tian's mouth, just like a knife stabbed into Shanks' heart. As Chen Tian said, Luffy was the future he bet on, and he left his arm in the East China Sea. In his eyes, Luffy was the heir of Rogersville, the future of the sea and the future of pirates, but now the future has been shattered. When rushing all the way to Dressrosa, Shanks felt uneasy, because he knew Luffy's personality and style of doing things, and he would most likely provoke Chen Tian. If it was someone else, it would be fine, even if it was the other 4 emperors. Although they were not opponents, there was still hope that Luffy could hold on for a while. As long as he could hold on until his arrival, nothing would happen. But if he provoked Chen Tian, he would have no way out. Unless Chen Tian was in a good mood and let him go, there would be no way to survive. Chen Tian, you. What? I was in a good mood and let him go, but he didn't know how to live or die and insisted on committing suicide. What do you want to say now? Do you want to start a war, red hair? Before Shanks finished speaking, Chen Tian pointed the long sword in his hand at him, and a cold voice came out directly from his mouth. The moment he finished speaking, Nami, Robin and Lacus jumped out of the palace and stood directly beside Chen Tian, with hostility in their eyes. Seeing the appearance of these 3 people, Shanks' face was extremely ugly. Nami and Robin were okay, but the key was Lacus, a guy who looked like a well-behaved girl, but had the power to destroy the world. Although he was here with all the people in his pirate group, and Chen Tian only had a few people, he did not have the confidence to start a war with the other party directly. Apart from anything else, he was not sure to fight against Lacus alone. He can still recall the tragic situation of Marine Headquarters Marineford during the war a year ago. The culprit of that tragedy was the magical girl Lacus. I'll take their bodies away. Shouldn't that be a problem? Shanks suppressed his anger and said this. Even in such a situation, he can still remain rational and calm, which is very impressive. Even if there is a war, it is not at this time. This is what Shanks is thinking now. It is inevitable to go to war with the Bankai pirates, but more powerful forces are needed to fight against the Bankai pirates. And he already has some plans in his mind. After all, Chen Tian offended many people today. The death of Sabo and Luffy will first provoke Ace, one of the 4 emperors, and looking at the current situation, Rayleigh and Jabba have stood up, and the former members of Roger's pirates are expected to stand on Ace's side. The next group that will be provoked is the Revolutionary Army. After all, the Chief of Staff died at the hands of Chen Tian, and the Revolutionary Army will never swallow their anger. Moreover, Luffy is the son of the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Dragon, so the hatred is very deep. And the strength of the Revolutionary Army is not to be said, but it is definitely comparable to the 4 emperors. Add to that Shanks' side, which means that Chen Tian has provoked 3-4 emperors in one breath. If you add the navy that has been eyeing the Bankai pirates, then you only need to spend a little time to gather a terrifying force to attack the Bankai pirates. Chapter 339 Robin Deha. Just like a year ago, are you just planning to take the body away? Chen Tian put away the long sword in his hand and sneered. If that's all, let's stop here today. Anyway, I'm no longer interested in taking action. But Shanks, if you have any ideas, you'd better think it over before making a decision. Our 1G pirates are not afraid to confront the whole world. On the contrary, the whole world should be afraid of us. And you, Ace, if you want revenge, I'm always here to serve you. Today, I'm saving your life for the sake of Mr. Rayleigh. Don't be like Luffy, and don't know what's good for you. Otherwise the people around you will be killed one after another by me. After saying this, Chen Tian took Lacus and the others away directly. There was no point in staying here. However, although he left such words at the end, Chen Tian knew that some of these people would still take the initiative to seek death. To be honest, Chen Tian was really curious about the people in this world who were so desperate when they were not as strong as himself. He gave them a way out again and again, but no one ever cherished it. And after I killed those people who were looking for death, there would always be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Avengers who jumped out. They really came to give experience in a team. If you think about it carefully, the actions of these people are just like the good dolls saving their grandfather, one after another. After walking for a long time, Nami asked puzzledly, Brother Chen, if we let them go, maybe it won't be long before Fireman and Red Hair will join forces to attack our 1G pirates. It's not just Fireman and Red Hair, there are also the Revolutionary Army, and Red Hair should also summon more forces, even including the Navy and the world government. After all, if it's just 2 of the 4 emperors, I don't underestimate them. Even if I lend him and Ace a few courage, they dare not attack our 1G pirates. Chen Tian smiled and said with contempt, if his brother was killed in front of him, and his relatives' bodies were in front of him, and his enemies were also in front of him, he would not have any forbearance. If you can beat them, you have to fight. If you can't beat them, you have to fight, even if you have to risk your life. Even if you end up dead on the spot, at least you have to spray the enemy's face with blood. Perhaps such behavior is considered a reckless man in the eyes of many people, but he would rather be such a reckless man. Brother Chen, since you know this, why do you still? Before Nami finished her words, Robin on the side said with a smile, why do you still let them go? Isn't the answer to this question very simple? Brother Chen wants to catch these guys in one fell swoop, otherwise there will be flies flying around your ears from time to time. Are you annoyed? Brother Chen wants to use a Grand War to directly rule the entire new world. After hearing Robin's explanation, he nodded as if he had suddenly realized something. On the contrary, although Chen himself looked normal at this time, he was a little confused in his heart. He had the idea of getting Shanks and others to gather together and solve them in one go, but he didn't think so far about ruling the new world. Okay. But Robin said it so confidently. If he said that he didn't think so at the beginning, it seemed a little inappropriate. It's just this feeling. Why do I feel that Robin seems to be a little bit deified? However, if Robin's idea is followed, it is not a bad thing. Now the sea is getting more and more chaotic, and no one knows what kind of waves will be set off later. If there is a chance, it is not bad to directly rule the entire new world. The problem is that, if he really rules the entire new world directly, it is equivalent to confronting the world government head on. The world government, which has 800 years of heritage, will start an unprecedented war with the 10,000 world's pirates under his command. He only rules the new world, but in the eyes of the world government, this is a signal that a 10,000 world's pirates wants to overthrow the world government and replace their 800 years of rule. Just after Chen Tian and others returned to the 10,000 worlds continent, the matter of Dressrosa was basically resolved. Although Chen Tian only solved the 2 minor characters, Luffy and Sabo, without Luffy as an accident generator, it was much easier for Doflamingo to deal with this riot. Red Earl Redfield left directly after getting the tremor fruit, and no one knew what he was going to do with the tremor fruit. But they are strong. They can take it if they want to. What else can you do? As for Marco, who failed in the fight for the tremor fruit, he could only leave sadly. He didn't have the time to care about Dressrosa's affairs. The upheaval in this country had nothing to do with him. Ace was taken away directly by Rayleigh and Jabba. Although he was noisy and wanted to seek revenge on Chen Tian, the two old guys behind him would not watch him die. Shanks simply took the bodies of Luffy and Sabo and did not stay in Dressrosa for too long. Although he was very unhappy and hostile to Chen Tian, he did not mean to start a war immediately. It must be said that Chen Tian's vision was very accurate. When Shanks just entered the Grand Line, Chen Tian told Robin that he and others were not the same kind of people as Shanks. Looking at the current situation, Chen Tian's words back then really came true. And with the departure of Shanks, basically all the big guys on Dressrosa left, and the rest were a group of little guys. They wanted to overthrow Doflamingo's rule, but the facts told them that this was just wishful thinking. Even if all the remaining guys were added together, they might not be able to defeat the Don Quixote family. Even if the curse of the childish fruit was lifted, what would happen? As one of the 7 warlords of the sea, Doflamingo, who had ruled Dressrosa for 10 years, had the strength to suppress the riot, not to mention that Kakashi and others were helping at the moment. From the moment Kakashi stopped Admiral Fujitora with a smile, the outcome was clear. Without the combat power of the Admiral level, Doflamingo's strength was beyond doubt. But then again, although the riot was suppressed, the darkness of Dressrosa was also spread, and the Navy headquarters directly listed this country as an enemy. But what surprised everyone was that the world government did not cancel Doflamingo's status as a 7 warlord of the sea. This should be due to his identity as a celestial dragon. Or it should not be called identity, but the secrets about the celestial dragons that Doflamingo knew. As long as Doflamingo himself is not defeated by other pirates, the world government will have a very high tolerance for him. Perhaps it is because this secret is too important. From the original snatching of the Sky Gold to demand the position of the 7 warlords of the sea, to withdrawing from the 7 warlords of the sea, deceiving Luffy and Trafalgaro, and becoming the 7 warlords of the sea again, and finally the secret of the childlike fruit was revealed. If this series of operations had been replaced by someone else, they would have been crushed to ashes by the world government, but Doflamingo is still living so well. Just like Chen Tian, he just happened to fall into O'Hara, but he has been chased by the world government for so many years. Until he became one of the 4 emperors, and dominated the new world, but the world government still did not let him go. It's just that he didn't act as blatantly as before, but calmly waited for the opportunity. But it is undeniable that as long as there is a slight chance, the world government will definitely be the first to jump up and bite Chen Tian. Even with such great power as Chen Tian, he was unable to make the world government compromise. This shows how important the secret that Doflamingo knows is. Chapter 340, Chen Tian's preparation. The core area of the 10,000 worlds. After Chen Tian returned here, he didn't even go to his own home, but walked directly into the office area. At this time, Minato was handling official business with a serious face. The 10,000 worlds is now a real country, which is divided into citizen villages of various sizes, and is well managed by Minato. It's really rare, Chen Tian. It seems that the number of times you have come here in the past few years can be counted on one hand. Minato looked up at Chen Tian, who was walking in, and said, "Is there anything big going to happen this time? If nothing unexpected happens, it should be that you got into trouble when you were traveling in Dressrosa. It's not a big deal. There should be another war soon, and this war is estimated to be more exciting than the previous war on the top, so we need to take out all the baileys in the treasury in a short time to buy devil fruits, so that we can give some surprises to those who attack us." Chen Tian had already thought about it on the way back. This time, he wanted to put all the combat power of the 10,000 worlds pirates in one go. And in these few days, all 300 devil fruits will be collected to ensure that they can connect to the next world at any time. If they are defeated in the end, they will take everyone away from the pirate world. With himself and Might Carax, Chen Tian is very confident that the 10,000 Worlds pirates will never fail, but confidence is confidence, and necessary backup is still needed. Hearing this, Minato was indeed stunned for a moment, looking at Chen Tian with a strange face and asked slowly, "Chen Tian, do you know how many bales are left in our treasury? Aren't there about 5 billion? Being asked this suddenly, Chen Tian was a little unsure in his heart. He usually didn't care about these things, and basically all the things were left to Minato and Robin to deal with. Knowing that it was about the same for him, anyway, the people of the 10,000 Worlds pirates would not betray him, so he was completely relieved. 5 billion bales was a long time ago, Minato sighed, and he was also very helpless about his captain, who didn't care about anything. We now have a total of 13 billion bales in reserve, and this is a budget excluding necessary expenses for the next year. If we really want to use all the bales in the treasury to buy devil fruits, even if we buy them at an average price of 300 million bales per fruit, we can still buy more than 40 devil fruits. If the average price is 200 million, we can buy 65. Add to that the devil fruits we brought back from Dressrosa during this period, and the devil fruits collected 3 days ago. We estimate that we can collect about 100 devil fruits in total. Of course, the premise is that those guys on the sea can find so many devil fruits. In order to collect devil fruits for you, Doflamingo has begun to secretly replace the real devil fruits with artificial devil fruits. So Chen, are you sure you want to use all the bales in the treasury to buy them? I personally have no objection, but it's just to deal with a war and see if so much is really needed. Minato directly told the current situation of the pirates of the Bankai. Chen himself did not expect that so much wealth had been stored. The expenses of the Bankai pirates are actually not small. After all, they have to support so many people. Under such circumstances, they can still store so much wealth, which shows how powerful Minato is. Of course, compared with other normal countries, the Bankai pirates have a biggest advantage, that is, they do not need to pay Xianshan gold. Even if Chen is willing to pay Xianshan gold, he has to ask if anyone dares to take it. In this case, there is no need to buy it. Just give me the useless devil fruits you have collected during this period. Chen's eyes flashed, and he made a decision immediately. He has made enough devil fruits in these years, and only lacks a dozen. When he came back, he also brought back the 7 devil fruits that were delayed by Doflamingo. Together with the devil fruits collected by the Bankai pirates during this period and the relatively useless devil fruits in the inventory, the number is completely sufficient. An island in the New World. This island is very interesting. Unless there is a special pointer, there is absolutely no way to enter the interior of the island through the surrounding fog. What's more interesting is that the only people who know about the existence of this island and the dispute over entering this island are the crew members on the former Pirate King's ship. In other words, in addition to some crew members who have not yet appeared in the world, only Rayleigh, Jabba, Shanks and Buggy know how to enter the interior of this island. Therefore, this island is very concealed and very safe, but since Roger surrendered and was executed, no one has come to this island. Today, the Red Hair Pirates did welcome some people outside the island. Red Hair Shanks, one of the 4 emperors, even set up a banquet inside the island, waiting for at this time. A huge pirate ship slowly entered the fog, and Ben Beckman and others saw it, but did not stop it, or greet it, because the people of this pirate group can enter the interior of the island by themselves, and they don't need to lead the way. Another pirate group of the 4 emperors, Fireman Ace. Is this the island he found? Although it is not the final island, it is also a very peculiar island. Ace stood on the deck and looked at the fog outside. He couldn't help but said, "Uncle Rayleigh, is it really okay for you to join this alliance? I remember you said before that you have long ignored the affairs of the sea. The wind explosion of the new era is left to the people of the new era to deal with, isn't it?" Rayleigh took a bottle of wine and took a sip, and then he said, "Although it is true, no one thought that Chen would turn the sea into what it is now. If we old guys don't stand up now, he will end the future of this sea. To put it bluntly, Chen is too powerful now, and the 10,000 Worlds pirates he leads are also so powerful that Rayleigh and Jabba can't help but think of the Rocks pirates of the past. But Chen's 10,000 Worlds pirates are indeed more powerful and intimidating than the Rocks pirates. Perhaps in terms of combat effectiveness, the Rocks pirates will not necessarily be weaker than the 10,000 Worlds pirates. Of course, no one would consider the existence of Lacus at this time. In addition to the Great Pirate Rocks, the Rocks pirates also include Whitebird, Golden Lion, Charlotte Linlin, and Kado. The top powerhouses who later roamed the sea would not be inferior to the core members under Chen Tian. And Rocks' strength is even more extraordinary. He defeated the Rocks pirates that year, but it was done by the Navy and Roger pirates, and this was because the hearts of the Rocks pirates were different, and there was no unity at all. But the 10,000 Worlds pirates are different. While they have powerful strength, the 10,000 Worlds pirates are still a solid block, completely commanded by Chen Tian. Internal strife is completely non-existent for the 10,000 Worlds pirates. It is precisely because of this that the strength of the 10,000 Worlds pirates is so frightening. In fact, in the eyes of many people, the 10,000 Worlds pirates have long had enough strength to replace the title of the One Emperor and Four Emperors, and become the only overlord of this new world. These are not just empty words, but the achievements of the Bankei pirates. The new world is constantly at war, but except for those rookies, who have just rushed into the new world, no one dares to touch the Bankei pirates. This says it all. Didn't Ace and Shanks not dare to take revenge for Luffy after Luffy died? Chapter 341 The Four Emperors Gather. I don't know how many people are needed to defeat the Bankei pirates. The fighting power of the core members of the Bankei pirates was already very obvious during the previous war on the top. Ace frowned when he thought of this. Since the Dressrosa incident, he has calmed down a lot during this period of time. Although he still hates Chen Tian very much, at least he is not blinded by hatred like before. Kuangi Jiraiya, Cold Lord Orochimaru, Senjutsu Nade, Hatake Kakashi, Golden Flash Namikaze Minato, Red Pepper Uzumaki Kushina, plus the Blue Beast my guy, Magical Girl Lacus, and Chen Tian himself. The Bankei pirates have 9 admiral level strongmen. 9 admirals sound like a terrifying and even desperate number. Your information is too outdated. The Bank of the World's pirates are not that simple. Jabba shook his head at this time and said with a fearful look, first of all, in addition to the few people you mentioned just now, after so many years, the other core members of the Bank of the World's pirates have grown enough. Secondly, the magical girl Lacus should be a presence beyond the admiral, and there is also the Blue Beast Might guy who rarely fights hard. These two are the most difficult to deal with. The whole world is afraid of these two people, the magical girl Lacus and the Blue Beast Might guy. Obviously, they just look like a harmless girl and a rough man with strange aesthetics, but they have destructive power. Since no one said anything more, they went directly to the inside of the island. When Ace and his group entered the island, another large ship appeared around the island. On this ship, everyone was wearing a pitch black robe with a strange pattern on it. I didn't expect these guys to actually accept the captain's invitation. Did the world government also feel the threat from the Bank of the World's pirates? Seeing the appearance of this group of people, Ben Beckman was a little surprised. The most mysterious group in the entire new world is this group of people. No one knows where they came from, but they have strong strength, and all the officers on the ship are mythical beasts. Even during the time they dealt with the Dressrosa world, this mysterious pirate group has defeated all other opponents, and became the last of the four emperors. Although others don't know where this pirate group came from, as the red hair pirates are closely connected with the world government, Beckman still has some guesses. All the officers are mythical beasts devil fruit users, which is enough to prove that the other party has a deep foundation. Except for the world government, he can't think of other forces that can do this. Hey, as the host, shouldn't you come over to greet us? After all, your captain invited us here. Rosas walked directly to the edge of the deck at this time, looking at Beckman not far away, and of course said loudly, "I'll go." Beckman stretched out his hand to stop Jesus Boo next to him and said, "After all, the other party is now four emperors pirate group. It's only appropriate for me, the vice captain, to go. And I also want to get in touch with them. After all, they are too mysterious. Since Shanks invited them to participate in this operation, we have to know them inside and out." To be honest, even Beckman himself didn't know what this group of pirates was called. Anyway, they were so mysterious that everyone called them the Mysterious Pirates. but Beckman had a guess in his mind that this pirate group should be sent by the world government, so it was not convenient to use their name, otherwise they would be attacked by all the pirates. As soon as the voice fell, Bateman jumped and landed directly on the deck of the other party. At this time, a black-robed man who was about 4 meters tall and sitting on a seat on the deck moved his eyes slightly. He stared at Beckman and said, "Ben Beckman, the vice captain of the Red Hair Pirates. I have a lot of faith for you to lead the way for us. Is your captain waiting on the island?" "Yes, my captain has prepared a banquet on the island and is waiting for you." "Then can you confirm that you are the new 4 emperors, the undead Gino?" After Ben Beckman said this, the tall black cannon man took off his hood, revealing a resolute face with half an iron mask on his face. "I think no one dares to pretend to be me on this sea. Are you sure now, Ben Beckman?" Gino's eyes were like those of a dead person, without any fluctuations. He just looked at Beckman indifferently, and a cold voice came out slowly from his mouth. "Beckman is the core figure of the Red Hair Pirates. He is far superior to ordinary people in terms of strength and wisdom." However, when he faced Gino at this moment, he couldn't help but frown slightly, and felt an extraordinary pressure in his heart. After a long silence, he nodded, then turned around and walked to the bow and began to command the mysterious pirates to move towards the interior of the island. Since the other party has been trying hard to hide the name of his pirate group, Beckman would not ask for trouble. Moreover, he already had a rough guess in his mind. If this guess is true, it is indeed inconvenient for the other party to reveal his name. After that, the whole ship seemed extremely quiet until Beckman sent them to the island and left for a long time. Gino nodded slightly to Rosses, who was looking at him. Then Rosses took out a wiretapped Den Mushi, opened it, and swallowed it in one gulp, allowing it to eavesdrop on the surrounding news in his stomach. Outside the island fog. "Hahaha, is this how the red-haired guy entertains guests? Hurry up and get someone to take me in. This fog is really weird. Even from the air, there is no way to find the specific location of the island. It's really troublesome." Golden Lion brought his ship directly from the air to the sea outside the fog. The sound of laughter came from his mouth. His arrival meant that all the 4 emperors on the sea had gathered. Without waiting for the red hair pirates to reply, a red figure suddenly rushed over from a distance, and after a flash, he landed directly on the plywood of Golden Lion. He looked at Golden Lion with a faint expression, and said in a deep voice, "Do you mind if I take a ride on your boat, old lion?" "Hahaha, Redfield, have you been invited as well? But I remember that you don't associate with others. How come you have the idea of joining this alliance today? Do you also fear the 10,000 Worlds Pirates?" Golden Lion looked at the man who appeared on the deck and thought he was an old acquaintance. He chuckled twice and spoke. He was also somewhat afraid of Redfield. After all, he was a man who stood out in that era with his own strength. And judging from his current appearance, this guy had somehow regained his youth. "Fear? There is nothing on the sea that can make me feel this kind of emotion. I'm just more interested in the 10,000 Worlds Pirates," Redfield replied simply. He was extremely confident in his own strength, especially after regaining his youth. Although he had heard a lot of rumors about the 10,000 Worlds Pirates, he did not think that anyone could defeat him. At least in a one-on-one situation, he had absolute confidence. As for the so-called 10,000 Worlds Pirates defeating Whitebird, it was just that the years had left too many traces on Whitebird. This was what Red Earl Redfield thought. The two did not stay here for too long. Jesus Boo led them directly to the interior of the island. Chapter 342 Golden Lion's Plan. Not long after, a small boat appeared on the sea. "Well, it's Hawkeye. I'll go and bring him in." Kiraru recognized the person on the boat at a glance. Hawkeye Mihawk, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, was also a good friend of their captain. After Mihawk, some big pirates from the New World came one after another. After all, this time Red Hair wanted to gather enough forces to defeat the Bankei pirates. In his opinion, the 4 emperors were not enough. Almost a whole day had passed, and almost all the people who received Red Hair's invitation came to this island. Even Buggy the Clown, who had become a 7 warlords of the sea not long ago, came here. Buggy didn't want to come originally, but Rayleigh and Jabba had already come forward. As a member of the Pirate King's ship, He felt a little embarrassed not to come. So he tried to convince himself that he came for the sake of Rayleigh and Jabba. As for Shanks, he would not give Shanks face. Everyone is almost here. Let's get started. Red-haired boy, how do you plan to deal with the 10,000 Worlds pirates? How will the 10,000 Worlds continent of the 10,000 Worlds pirates be divided? Golden Lion looked up at this moment, staring at Shanks, and then said in a deep voice. He felt that he had won the game, so he thought directly about the division of the 10,000 Worlds continent. However, it was normal for him to have such an idea. After all, the 4 emperors of the new world gathered here. If the 4 emperors joined hands, is there any force in the world that can compete with them? In the eyes of Golden Lion, let alone the 10,000 Worlds pirates. If this force is in his hands, he can even overthrow the world government. Golden Lion, you underestimate the 10,000 Worlds pirates. To divide the 10,000 Worlds continent, we must first defeat Chen Tian and his members. What we should discuss now is how to attack the 10,000 Worlds pirates, and how to defeat him and his members. Ace calmly analyzed at this time. The core members of the 10,000 Worlds pirates are powerful, and they have already shown their strength in the war a year ago. Let's not talk about other combat power. The people in it, such as Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Kakashi Hatake, are all capable of competing with us one-on-one. If we want to destroy the 10,000 Worlds pirates, we must first destroy these core members. In the 10,000 Worlds pirates, the people that Ace mentioned before are not just them. Each of them has a group of subordinates of their own. And after those few people took action, even the 4 emperors would not dare to take them lightly. Everyone can go head on with the 4 emperors pirates with all their subordinates. Yes, the core members of those pirate groups are extremely powerful. In fact, any of them have the strength to compete for the position of the 4 emperors. If you want to completely destroy them, you must first deal with these people. But in order to deal with these people, you must have a combat power that exceeds that of their opponent. Shanks nodded at this time and said seriously, he gathered so many people, wasn't it because the Bankei pirate group was too powerful? Hahaha, you guys are still immature. Fighting is not a fair duel. Combat power is indeed an indispensable aspect, but it is not absolute. Golden Lion smiled, and then said with a proud face, considering the opponent's situation, shouldn't we first be clear about our own advantages? Use our advantages to deal with the Wanji pirates, so that we can greatly increase our chances of winning. If everything depends on the duel of the strong, then just call out the core members of the opponent and the Kid Chenshin, and have a life and death duel, right? Redfield, who was sitting on the side, also nodded, and then said, you should really listen to this old lion in this regard. He is also the admiral of the Feikan pirates. As the admiral of the Feikan pirates, Golden Lion still has a certain tactical mind, but the luck in that battle was really bad, and he was directly punished by God. There is still a rudder stuck in his head. He is also very desperate. It can only be said that after all, he is not the protagonist of Destiny, and he is still inferior to Roger who is cheating. But at this time he felt that he was good again. The demon god Chenshin could not compare with Roger, at least that was the idea in the Golden Lion's head. He asked someone to bring up a huge nautical chart and said, the 10,000 Worlds pirates merged all the islands together to form a huge continent, but because the continent is too large, they can't have enough people to guard every place, so our main target is the places where they are not well prepared. You don't need to tell us this, we know it very well. Ace said coldly. Boy, how about you tell me how to attack the 10,000 Worlds pirates? The Golden Lion glanced at Ace. In his eyes, although Ace was a 4 emperor like himself, he was just a junior, and he was a great pirate of the same generation as his father. Seeing that Ace snorted coldly, and didn't continue to speak, the Golden Lion continued. First of all, our first advantage is that we have more people than the 10,000 Worlds pirates, so we should give priority to occupying their outer cities. The strength of those people is not that strong, and it will be much easier to fight them. It's easy to say, won't the 10,000 Worlds pirates support you? A big sea child from a new world said directly. At this moment, a gleam of light flashed in Ben Beckman's eyes, and he said with a serious face, they will support, but the opponent's mobility is not as good as ours. I guess what Golden Lion is about to say is that our second advantage is his ability. The ability of the float fruit allows us to attack the bank of the world's pirates from the air, right? Hahaha. It seems that there are still smart people here. Yes, my ability is the second advantage, and there are not many people in the bank of the world's pirates who need us to care about, and those guys will not leave the place they are guarding until after the war starts. Stepping back, even if they personally support other cities, we also have two choices, either to defeat them one by one with more people, or to avoid them and attack other cities. Golden Lion thought very clearly. After a slight pause, he continued, if the fight goes on like this, either the bank of the world's pirates will suffer heavy losses, or they will have to shrink all their forces in the core area. At that time, they will need to launch a general offensive, relying on the absolute hard power of both sides, so we must try our best to weaken the power of the bank of the world's pirates before that. It must be said that the old lion's idea is very good. The Wanji continent is now very huge, and most of the outer areas are guarded by those affiliated pirate groups. Compared with others, those pirate groups are quite powerful, but they are much worse than the real strong ones, not to mention that the group in front of them are all big guys. There are four Emperor's pirate groups here, plus a group of big pirates gathered together. Any one of them can get rid of those affiliated pirate groups. Or to put it in a simple and clear way, in the eyes of these big guys, the so-called affiliated pirate groups are their own money bags and cannon fodder. The only purpose of accepting them is to pay their protection fees on time, and use these people as cannon fodder when going to war with others. That's why the Golden Lion is so dismissive of these affiliated pirate groups, and others have no intention of objecting. Chapter 343, Navy Actions. After everyone agreed with Golden Lion's idea, a group of people began to discuss the attack strategy in detail, as well as the things they were responsible for. It looked like an alliance of the same blood. However, they were all pirates here, and only they themselves knew what was going on in each of them. Almost 2 days had passed before the pirates on the island left one after another and went back to prepare. After a long distance away from the island, on the ship of the mysterious pirate group, the dead spirit Gino took out a special dendenmashi from his arms, dialed it, and said respectfully, 5 adults, the pirate alliance has gathered together to attack the Wanji pirates. I wonder what we need to do next. 0. The dendenmashi suddenly turned into the appearance of the 5 elders with long beards, and a low voice slowly came out from it. Since the pirates of the New World intend to attack the Bankei pirates themselves, you can lend them a helping hand. However, it is not easy to completely eliminate the Bankei pirates. You need to be careful. I will tell Khan Gang about these things later, and he will cooperate with you. It would be best if you can get rid of the Bankei pirates this time. If not, put an end to the evil bloodline. Do you understand? Who could have thought that the mysterious pirate group that suddenly rose in this year, swept countless pirates, and reached the top of the New World, turned out to be the strong of the world government, and was directly under the 5 elders, the highest authority. However, many things would not be strange in this way, such as the many mythical beast fruit users of this mysterious pirate group. Only the world government with 800 years of heritage could find so many mythical beast devil fruits. As for the evil bloodline, mentioned by the bearded 5 elders, if there is no accident, it is Ace. As the descendant of Pirate King Roger and the heir of the D clan, his existence is a certain threat to the world government. I understand. I will follow the orders of the 5 adults. After saying this, Dendenmashi hung up, and Zero put it away carefully. Then he looked up, and said to Rossus and other cadres, be prepared for the battle. The strength of the 10,000 world's pirates is not weak. It will be a fierce battle for us. After those people left, Shanks still stayed on the island in the fog. The pirate alliance just now was just the first step to deal with the 10,000 world's pirates. Although many strong people gathered, he still felt that his understanding of the 10,000 world's pirates was not enough. After all, in the previous period of time, he and Jiraiya had a good relationship, so he knew a little more about the 10,000 world's pirates. When you decide to become an enemy of that powerful pirate group, you can't take it lightly, otherwise you will be destroyed. So he is waiting here for the other 2 forces he intends to unite to fight against the 10,000 world's pirates. The Dark World and the Revolutionary Army. Needless to say, the Revolutionary Army. Although Drago is a man who values his career, his own son was killed by Chen Tian, so it is inevitable that he will attack the Bank of World's pirates. As for the Dark World, it is hard to say. Those guys are basically fence sitters. Although they have certain power under their hands, they are still businessmen. If Shanks knew that Stussy, the Queen of Happy Street, is an agent of CP0 of the world government, I wonder what he would feel. One of the 4 emperors in a pirate alliance is from the world government, and one of the emperors of the Dark World is also from the world government. The foundation of 800 years is well deserved. In a special office of the world government. This office is where Steelbone Sora works. After all, he has long been the commander-in-chief of the 3 armed forces, not the former admiral of the navy. And now the people sitting in his office are all big shots. After the 5 elders informed him of the news sent back by Zero not long ago, he immediately summoned all these guys. The Pirate Alliance is going to attack the Bankai Pirates, which is a very good opportunity for their navy, whether it is to destroy the Bankai Pirates that threaten the world government, or to allow the navy to successfully enter the new world. The people sitting in this office now are the representatives of the navy and the army. The current Navy Marshal Aokiji Kyuzan, the Navy Headquarters Chief Inspector Sengoku, the Navy Headquarters Chief of Staff Churu, the Navy Headquarters Vice Admiral Hirogap, and the 3 Admirals Kizaru Borsalino, Fujitora Ichisho and Green Bull. Sitting on the other side are the Army Marshal and his senior generals. Everyone has understood the matter, so let's talk about your ideas. Steelbone Sora's eyes slowly swept over the people below, and then he spoke. As soon as he finished speaking, the army marshal said with a serious face, just send troops to wipe out the Bankai pirates, and send troops when those pirates are fighting with the Bankai pirates. In this way, both sides can be wiped out in one go, and the sea can be quiet for a while. He really wanted to stand out in this incident, because this world is dominated by the sea, and the navy has a higher status than their army. So the former navy marshal, Khan Gang, was promoted to the chief marshal of the 3 armies. His position as army marshal has actually reached the end. Without special contributions, he basically cannot continue to be promoted, but this time is his chance. The 5 elders are all concerned about the Bankai pirates. If he can perform well in this incident, maybe he can succeed Khan Gang in the future. At this time, Zanji Yuo suddenly said, I don't recommend taking action against the 10,000 world's pirates at this time. The best thing for us should be to sit back and watch the outcome. If those pirate alliances win, we will wipe out the 10,000 world's pirates, and then take the territory of the 10,000 world's pirates and march into the new world. If the 10,000 world's pirates win, we will turn our guns to eliminate those pirates, and also march into the new world. I have to admit that Zenji Yuo's idea is very good and the safest. Sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, so that the navy does not need to pay much, and can get the greatest benefits. Humph, Zanji Yuo, when did you become so timid? Could it be that you were scared by the 10,000 world's pirates in the war a year ago? Now that our navy and army are united, why do we have to do those despicable things? Just crush them. I don't know if the army marshal is eager to make a contribution or a little stupid. He probably didn't think about this sentence. But after being retorted by him, Zanji Yuo was not angry at all, but just didn't continue to speak. He is a semi-retired person, and he just made a suggestion. It has nothing to do with him, whether others adopt it or not. Kang thought for a while before speaking. It is indeed not advisable to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, but it is even worse to attack directly like a reckless man. Although the combined forces of the navy and the army will greatly increase, we also need to try to control casualties. Do you have any good ideas, Kyuzan? In fact, Sengoku's suggestion is not unacceptable, but it cannot be done in this situation. If the pirate alliance is a pure pirate alliance, there is no problem for them to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. But the problem is that the mysterious pirate group in it is from the world government. It is impossible for them to let others fight desperately, and then their navy and army will watch from the side. And after others fight their lives, they still get all the benefits. Chapter 344 World Channel. If that's the case, I think we can adopt a more compromising approach. Kuzan thought for a long time before expressing his thoughts. The key to the Bank of China pirates lies in Chen Tian, Lacus and my guy. Against 3 strong men like them, the number of people will not play any role at all, especially Chen Tian's weird white flame. Too many people will become an obstacle to ourselves, so it is not appropriate to send a large army to invade. So I suggest that we form an elite team, and after the battle between the 4 emperors and the Bank of China pirates enters a white hot stage, directly attack the Bank of China. In a sense, we can regard the 4 emperors pirate alliance as a partner, and do not conflict with them until the Bank of China pirates is destroyed, just like when we dealt with the Rocks pirates. Kuzan completely regarded Chen Tian as the former Rocks. Although the war at that time had nothing to do with him, the threat level definitely reached that level. You think of treating pirates as partners. The army marshal began to taunt. Although he had heard a lot about the Bank of the World's pirates, he never thought that the Bank of the World's pirates were that powerful. The method Kuzan said is feasible. If it is implemented properly, then we will be a sharp knife inserted into the heart of the Bank of the World's pirates. But we still need some other preparations. At this time, Gangu Kang agreed. Let the navy and the army split up and prepare on the islands close to the Bank of the World's pirates. Once the Bank of the World's pirates are defeated, they need to go out immediately and seize the islands that belong to us from the pirates. Kuzan, you should immediately summon the 7 warlords of the sea and let them take action against the Bank of the World's pirates. However, they do not need to participate in our actions. They only need to attack the Bank of the World's pirates openly. This will help us attract attention and also delay some of the strong men of the Bank of the World's pirates. Bank of the World's, Chen Tian's residence. Because of Chen Tian's previous decision, Minato immediately handed over all the stored devil fruits to Chen Tian. After getting this batch of devil fruits, Chen Tian recharged all of them into the system without any hesitation. Although this time almost all of the devil fruits of the Wanji pirates were emptied, the final result was still very good. Chen Tian is now sitting alone in the study, and he feels like a rich man. After coming to this world for so many years, his system points have always grown slowly, and now it is finally complete. It must be said that the reason why there are so many energy points is thanks to Doflamingo. This time, he is almost betting all his assets on the Wanji pirates. He is also making a big gamble. Under the current circumstances, he still chooses to support the Wanji pirates because he has strong enough ambitions. The 4 emperors and the Wanji pirates are preparing for a war. If he stands on the side of the 4 emperors, even if the 4 emperors win, he will not get any benefits, and because he has maintained a long-term cooperative relationship with the Wanji pirates, it is easy to be suspected by others. But the Wanji pirates are not different. If the Wanji pirates win, then the sea will really change dramatically. The 10,000 world's pirates will rule the entire new world and even attack the world government, and he can also gain a lot of benefits from it. And because of the long-term cooperative relationship before, the 10,000 world's pirates may be a little wary of him, but not to the extent of suspicion. And from his understanding of Chen Tian, the 10,000 world's pirates have never taken him Doflamingo seriously, which is actually a good thing for him, and it will be easier to profit from it under such circumstances. A full 300 energy system points, finally accumulated enough. The next step is to open the world channel. I just don't know what the next world will be. Chen Tian thought about which world the system would open for him. After all, it was completely random. If it opened some worlds with low levels, it would be fine. But if it opened a world with great emperors and saints, it would be really finished. He suspected that he would be caught and studied as soon as he entered those worlds. God bless, I must come to a more suitable world. Chen Tian prayed in his heart. System, open the random world channel. After letting out a long sigh and preparing himself mentally, Chen Tian directly opened the random world channel. Open the world channel randomly. Ding. The world channel has been opened. The new world is Dupper World. Chen Tian was also stunned when he heard the voice of the system. Although he had various guesses before opening it, he didn't expect it to be this world. Although this world is not too powerful as a whole, the real strong ones in it can destroy the world. With Chen Tian's current strength, he is confident that he can dominate the remote areas, but he is still very scared to go to Zhongzhou, where there are strong people everywhere. But he can barely accept it. At least that world is not a world where strong people are everywhere, gods and immortals. In this way, Chen Tian also put down his worries. No matter what the final result is, at least the retreat of the Wanji pirates has been prepared. As for what needs to be done next, it is to win in this biggest battle. As long as he can win, Chen Tian can completely occupy the entire new world and then launch an attack on the world government. This matter has made such a big fuss. Chen Tian does not believe that the world government will not come in and intervene. So as long as we can win this time, Chen Tian will not let any of the invaders go, and the world government will also lose some of its combat power. This is the best time to counterattack. If everything goes well, after this war, Chen Tian is sure to sweep the world. After doing all this, Chen Tian called Robin in and asked, "Robin, how are the others preparing?" "Everything is prepared according to the previous plan. There are people responsible for guarding each area. There is no need to worry about the other party raiding our Wanji continent," Robin said calmly. All of Chen Tian's orders came from her mouth, so he knew all the plans clearly and naturally had a clear idea in his mind. Then he said, "People like Jiraiya and Kakashi are all gathered together. When the war starts, Minato will use Flying Thunder God to send them directly to the battlefield. In this way, we can solve the enemy's strategy of luring the tiger away from the mountain. Because the number of the other side is too large, they have long considered what to do. If the other side uses the method of luring the tiger away from the mountain, the strength of their Wanji pirates is very strong, but not everyone is so strong. Like those affiliated pirate groups, if they encounter an enemy, they will definitely be destroyed in the first place, without the ability to struggle. So Minato gave each of them a Flying Thunder God Kunai to ensure that they can reach the battlefield in the first world after the battle. And all the core members of the 10,000 Worlds Pirates were gathered together to maintain the highest mobility. Well done. The next step is to wait for the opponent to come. Chen Tian nodded with satisfaction. So far, the 10,000 Worlds Pirates have made all the preparations they can make, and the next step is to rely on their own strength. However, Chen Tian is still quite confident about this war. After all, they have 3 super standard strong men. To put it bluntly, even if the 4 emperors fight, they are not the opponent of him. All axe might die, and at most they can barely hold them back. However, the 10,000 Worlds Pirates are not just the 3 of them. Below them are Jiraiya, Minato, Kakashi, Tsunade, Orochimaru and others. If it weren't for the fear of some mysterious power, Chen Tian really wanted to ask how to lose when flying dragons ride on the face. But after thinking about it, it was wise to put this sentence behind him. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 345 Supernova War. Fruit Tree Town, Wanji Continent. Bang! A gunshot became the horn of the war, followed by the sound of countless guns, bullets, and swords fighting in this small town. Then, the slim and long-legged Kunoha Yuhi walked out of her small castle. Capone Becky, do you dare to participate in this incident as a super rookie? Don't you know what will happen if you challenge the Wanji pirates? Kunoha Yuhi's face was cold at this time, just looking at the other party, but one hand had already begun to seal. She didn't care whether the other party had any explanation or reason. Provoking the Wanji pirates itself was an unforgivable felony, not to mention that this arrogant super rookie was leading people to attack the town she was responsible for protecting. I don't know what the outcome will be, but I know that after this time, there will be no more pirates of the worlds in the world. Although you are an emperor above the 4 emperors, this time the 4 emperors have joined forces with many pirates from the new world. No one thinks that the pirates of the worlds will continue to exist. Capone Becky was not panicked at all when facing Kunoha Yuhi. As for you, Kunoha Yuhi, you have lost in terms of military strength. This town belongs to me. Don't underestimate the pirates of the worlds. Newcomer. As soon as the voice fell, Kunoha threw several shurikens at Capone without hesitation. She is a ninja herself. Although she has strengthened her physical fitness, she still prefers to use ninjutsu in key battles. Although Capone is not optimistic about the pirates of the worlds, he still dares not be careless when facing a strong man like Kunoha. Although Kunoha is just an ordinary carder in the pirates of the worlds, no one knows her relationship with Chen Tian. Castle, full size, big boss. With this thought, Capone chose to go all out. He quickly turned into a huge castle and directly blocked the shuriken of Kunoha. The defense of Big Boss is as strong as a copper wall. In the original plot, he could also block a few attacks from the Big Boss. Although Kunoha is not weak, it will take a long time to break through the defense of Big Boss. At this time, countless artillery fire broke out from Big Boss and bombarded Kunoha. Capone is proud of his own military strength. If he is alone, his combat power is not strong, but he always fights one-on-one with others, but he is a group of people fighting one person. Seeing this, Kunoha took out a big sword without panic, and the sword energy flew out quickly, directly blocking the artillery fire rushing towards him, and then jumped up with a long sword in hand, aiming at the big head, and slashing it with a sword. After coming to this world, Kunoha found that her illusion had no effect on people with Conqueror's haki. In order to enhance her strength, her physique and swordsmanship were not inferior at all. However, compared with the real strong, she was not strong enough in these aspects, but it was enough to face Capone. She had no way to defeat Big Headwood in a short time, but Capone's proud troops could not cause any obvious damage to Kunoha before her physical strength was consumed too much. So for the two of them, the next battle was a protracted war. Whoever consumed too much first would lose to the other party. Potato Town. A man with a very fat appearance, a long nose, black hair inserted in a bun with a hairpin, a red and white striped scarf, and hard armor on his arms. At this moment, a man with a long sword in his fingers rushed directly down at a blonde and slender man. "Get out of my way, I can't be dragged here by you. The surrounding towns all need my help." Iron Arm Greatsword Nagus roared angrily at this moment. Just now, he had received 3 calls for help in succession. The surrounding towns had been attacked, and all of them were big pirates from the New World. Although the Wanji pirates are powerful, it is impossible for everyone to have strong strength. The outer islands are mainly guarded by their affiliated pirate groups. However, among their affiliated pirate groups, there are only a few who can really compete with those big pirates. So the islands guarded by others can't stop the attack of these big pirates at all. That's why he wanted to help, but just when he was about to leave the city, the damn blonde guy suddenly appeared here, and then the two sides fought in this potato town. This is the decision of fate. I'm just executing it. You can't leave this town today. Basil Hawkins looked at a card he had just drawn, and said to him. Hawkins is the ability user of the superhuman straw fruit, who can fight through straw. He will use the voodoo doll to transfer the damage to other people to offset the attack. He can turn into a huge scarecrow and can also turn into other scarecrows by holding weapons. He can also use the power of card drawing to affect the situation and strength of both sides, but he also needs to bear the cost of high risk. In general, his ability is very strange, and it is quite troublesome to deal with. As a swordsman, it is basically impossible for Nagus to get rid of Hawkins in a short time and then rush to other towns for rescue. However, Nagus is still very strong. After all, he is a pirate with a bounty of 600 million berries on the sea. His strength is still very good. If his strength is not strong enough, there is no way to join the Wanji pirates. The core area of the Wanji continent. Lord Minato, Riku Town was breached by the pirate group of the Super Rookie Ustana Kid. Lord Minato, Bread Town was breached by the Super Rookie Skulachi Manapu. Lord Minato, Bay Iron Town was breached. Apple Town and Banana Town were breached. There were dozens of Dendenmushi in front of Minato, many of which were reporting to him the current battle situation. Most of the affiliated pirate groups responsible for guarding the outer towns could not withstand the attacks of those big pirates, and some towns with weaker guardians have now been breached. So far, 9 towns in the 10,000 worlds have been breached by the enemy. Kakashi. Minato grabbed a Dendenmushi and said in a deep voice, I will let 1/3 of the core members support you immediately. As for how to support those outer islands, it's all up to you to arrange. I know, I will take back all the towns in the shortest time. Kakashi was almost unable to bear it in his own town. At this moment, he finally waited for Minato's order and stood up suddenly. And at this moment, the anger in his eyes was burning horribly. He wanted to get rid of all those bastards who dared to attack the Bankai pirates one by one. After Kakashi and the reinforcement given to him by Minato were dispatched, the situation in the outer towns of the Bankai continent also improved slightly, but only slightly. After all, there were too many pirates attacking the Bankai continent this time. With only Kakashi and the carvers he led, there was no way to rescue all the towns in time. And those pirates were also very smart. They had no intention of approaching the core area at all, but just frantically swept the outer areas of the Bankai pirates. Chapter 346 Sense of Belonging. In the core area of the pirate groups, Minato was constantly dealing with the reports from various towns. Although the people of the Bankai pirates knew very well that sacrifices were inevitable in such a huge war, and the people of the affiliated pirate groups also knew very well that they were responsible for guarding the outer islands, and it was difficult to wait for support. Even Minato himself was very clear about this situation. He was not naive to think that there would be no sacrifices in the war. He even knew very well that even the core members of the Bankai pirates might die in this great war, and he was able to sit here just to plan and minimize the number of sacrifices. As for the towns, he didn't care, even if they were destroyed. Minato-sama, Kakashi-sama was stopped by someone, and there is no way to support other towns for the time being. At this time, a dendenmushi suddenly made a sound and reached Minato's ears. After hearing this voice, Minato's face instantly became much uglier. If he wasn't a member of the group responsible for guarding the core area, he really wanted to go out with a sword immediately and stab those bastards who dared to attack the Bankai pirates with a sword, to see if they dared to continue to be arrogant. Who stopped Kakashi? Did someone from the Four Emperors pirates take action? Minato grabbed the dendenmushi and asked, but according to his judgment, the Four Emperors pirates should not take action at this time, because those guys' goals are not as simple as the outer towns. No, except for the beasts of the flying pirates, there are no other Four Emperors pirates for the time being. The one who stopped Lord Kakashi is the super rookie, Eustace Kid. Eustace Kid is the one with the highest bounty among the super rookies. He should have become Luffy with the highest bounty among the supernovas through the Dressrosa incident, but now he has been killed by Chen Tian. The user of the superhuman magnetism fruit is also extremely powerful in terms of combat power. As a superstar, he is almost as strong as the Vice Emperor level. It is not surprising that he can stop Kakashi. However, with Kakashi's strength, he only needs to spend a little effort to get rid of this guy, but it may take a little longer. I understand. Let Kakashi deal with the super rookie and support other towns. I will arrange someone else to go. After saying this, Minato hung up the dendenmushi and fell into silence. He was thinking about something. After a long time, a light flashed in Minato's eyes, and his face became serious. He made a difficult decision. The next moment, he called all the core members at the same time, and a serious voice came out from his mouth slowly. Now announce the next tactical arrangement. First of all, please understand one thing. We don't plan to give up any of the outer towns. The Wanji pirates have no precedent of abandoning their companions, and will not set this precedent. That's how it is. Those bastards who dare to come to the Wanji continent must pay a sufficient price. Let me take people to deal with them, Jiraiya said without hesitation. He was also very uncomfortable at the moment because they had to guard the core area, so even if they knew the situation outside, they could not go out before receiving orders. But watching his companions fighting for their lives outside while he was sitting here, Jiraiya still couldn't help it. We really need to make those guys pay a good price. Minato nodded and then said in a deep voice, next, announce the people responsible for guarding the core area. Except for these people, all others will go out and eliminate those idiots in the periphery at one go. The people left behind are Jiraiya, Might Guy, Eri, Nami, Robin and Lacus. Everyone else, go out. Minato thought about this arrangement for a long time before making a decision. Among the people left behind, there are the most powerful Might Guy and Lacus, and there is also Jiraiya who can deal with ordinary big pirates. In this way, if some small fish are lucky enough to rush over, Jiraiya can also take action to deal with them, saving the consumption of Might Guy and Lacus. You, the affiliated pirate groups of the Bankei Pirates, are not that good either. This sea is very cruel. Without sufficient strength, you will die here. Look carefully, no one has come to reinforce you so far. Appu looked at the pirate in front of him who was already covered in wounds, his face full of sarcasm. Just now I heard that there are people from other towns to support you. So, are you an insignificant guy in the Bankei Pirates? Stop trying to sow discord here. The relationship between us and the Bankei Pirates is not what you can imagine. The pirate sat down on the ground. He no longer had the strength to fight, but there was no despair on his face and eyes, just a faint smile. I don't know when it started to change. Even he himself didn't know, but the Bankei Pirates gave him the feeling of a family. Perhaps when he first joined the Bankei Pirates, he just wanted to rely on the powerful power of the Bankei Pirates to travel across the new world and find a backer for himself. But I don't know since when he found that he really liked the Bankei Pirates. Chen Tian was really good to them. Even though he had reached an unprecedented height, he had never ignored anyone from the Bankei Pirates. Until now, when Chen Tian met any of these pirates, he could clearly know the other person's name. That's meaningless, so this town belongs to me. As he said that, Appu was about to attack the pirate, but at this time, a slightly violent and murderous voice suddenly sounded. Just now, it seems that someone said that this town belongs to him, and he didn't take our Bankei Pirates seriously. Is it you? You have arms like noodles. Chapter 347 All Out. Hearing this voice, Appu's face suddenly became much uglier. He looked in the direction of the voice and saw a strange middle-aged man carrying several corpses. There was no need to look closely at the corpses in the man's hand. Appu could tell that they were definitely members of his pirate group. Oh, this luck is really bad. I didn't expect to meet a big man like you here, Orochimaru, one of the core members of the 10,000 Worlds Pirates. Appu recognized Orochimaru at once, and then continued, it is said that your strength is among the best in the 10,000 Worlds Pirates, and it is said that you have a combat power no less than that of the Admiral of the Navy. If I get rid of you here today, it would be very interesting. He was not afraid of Orochimaru. As a super rookie, he also had his own pride, but facing the bloody smell emanating from Orochimaru, it was impossible to say that he did not feel pressure. Is this a cold joke? It's a pity that it's not very funny. A flat and emotionless voice came from Orochimaru's mouth. Two giant pythons appeared on his hands and went straight towards App. The fast-flying giant pythons burst out with a sound of breaking through the air, with terrifying power, as if they were going to bite through the space in front. Seeing such an attack, App immediately dodged to the side. He was not the type to confront others head-on. His power came from his devil fruit ability, so if you have to say it, he should be a musician. Don't be so anxious to attack Orochimaru. Please look here. Don't be too angry and violent. App will sing you the rhythm. App's body turned into various musical instruments. The music played, combined with his singing and dancing rap, turned directly into a series of sharp slashes, heading towards Orochimaru. His attack was very troublesome. If he didn't have a strong enough observation haki, then to some extent, it would be a bit hard to defend against. But Orochimaru didn't care about these at all. His body after the software transformation was very strange, and ordinary attacks had no effect on him at all. These music-generated slashes could only leave a few shallow marks on his body, but they did not actually hurt him. Too weak, with your strength. How dare you challenge the Bankei Pirates? If you are only at this level now, then I can only end this game. Orochimaru looked at Appo expressionlessly. This strength was simply beyond his expectation. Then he kept swinging his body like a snake, carrying the slashes from Appo's music, and rushed forward frantically. During this period, there were also many slashes falling on him, but every time the slashes touched him, his body would twist in an inhuman posture and dodge all the slashes. It's over here. Stop, Orochimaru. Suddenly, Appo hit his head hard, and the harsh sound waves immediately enveloped Orochimaru completely, followed by a huge explosion, which completely swallowed Orochimaru in the blink of an eye. Even the body that Orochimaru had transformed himself could not withstand the explosion. It was blown away and fell to the ground without making any sound. I thought the core members of the Bankei Pirates were so powerful, but it turns out they are only this powerful. Appo wanted to say this, but before he could finish his words, he saw that Orochimaru, who had already been motionless, was emitting a terrifying bloody aura, which could be clearly seen with the naked eye. He was clearly covered with wounds at this moment, but his mouth opened wider and wider. An Orochimaru who was exactly the same as before crawled out of the corpse on the ground. Moreover, his expression was extremely cold at this moment. He stared at Appo coldly, with the corners of his mouth raised upwards, as if he was a predator about to hunt. At this time, the other pirates who were originally nearby immediately hid far away. They had once experienced the appearance of Orochimaru when he was angry. He was simply a demon from hell. Very good. Next I will let you experience the most miserable way to die, and let you become an experimental subject in my laboratory. The moment the voice fell, countless snakes of various shapes and sizes seemed to stretch out from the void, and in an instant, they completely enveloped the area of 100 meters, and there was only the killing of wild beasts inside. Where is the next town? Drake stepped on a corpse and asked his men around him. As one of the super rookies, he is probably the most special one, because he is not a regular pirate at all, but an undercover arranged by the Navy to join the pirates. However, before he had time to carry out his undercover operation as the Four Emperors, he was notified to participate in the siege of the 10,000 Worlds Pirates. As for the corpse he stepped on, it was the person in charge of guarding the city of the 10,000 Worlds Pirates. His strength was not strong, and this town was a little far from the core area. Before he could get support, he was killed by Drake. As a Navy undercover, Derek naturally had no idea of showing mercy to the pirates. He didn't have the habit of talking nonsense after winning a battle like most pirates, and then pretending to be the opponent's helper to rescue, or waiting for a comeback. He acted decisively. After defeating the affiliated pirate group here, he directly took everyone's life, and then began to consider which town should be attacked next. His view on this war was no different from that of others. Almost no one believed that the Bankei Pirates could win. After all, the Bankei Pirates were facing the Four Emperors and a large group of pirates. And Drake also knew that the Marshal of the Three Armies, Sora Steele, was leading the Navy and the Army to be on high alert and could attack the Bankei Pirates at any time. In other words, the Bankei Pirates had to face almost the entire world this time. How could they have a chance of winning under such circumstances? Captain, it would be more convenient to choose Desert Town as the next town, but there are many people guarding Desert Town, and their strength is stronger than those bastards we just dealt with. Hearing the report from his men, Drake nodded, and then said softly, then let's go directly to Desert Town. The affiliated pirate group there will not be that strong, and it should not be a problem to deal with them. It's a pity that you don't have that opportunity. Your hands are stained with the blood of our Wanji pirates. There is no place for you in the whole world. Of course, you will stop here now. A figure wearing dark green clothes suddenly fell from the sky and landed directly on the ground about 20 meters away from Derek. He simply raised his head and a light voice came out of his mouth. After the core members of the Wanji pirates were dispatched, Eri was originally responsible for guarding the core area. But Eri, who has been determined to protect the Wanji pirates since childhood, how could she watch others fight outside while she waited here? So under the strong request of Eri, Minato finally told Chen Tian about this matter, and it was Chen Tian who made the final decision to let Eri act freely. She is undoubtedly one of the strongest core members of the Bankei Pirates, and Drake is unlucky to meet her. With Drake's strength, he can fight against ordinary core members, but when he meets Eri, he has no chance of winning. Even the admirals of the Navy headquarters will find it extremely difficult to meet Eri, and dare not say victory. If Drake meets her, he will have no way out. The core cadre of the Bankei Pirates, Eri. Because Drake has the intelligence of the Navy, he knows much more about the top war than other ordinary pirates, and naturally knows the existence of Eri. Chapter 348 The Navy joins. Although Eri did not fight any admiral in that battle, she easily defeated Flower Sword Vista, and the Navy headquarters evaluation of him was that he was not inferior to the admiral. Without any hesitation, Drake was completely beastly. He was an animal type ancient species special dragon form fruit ability user, and his physical fitness was exceptionally outstanding. However, when he was completely speaking, Eri turned into a series of after images, rushed forward at a speed that was difficult to distinguish with the naked eye, and then controlled countless sword energy, rushing towards Drake like a wave of the sea. She had no intention of showing mercy, just as she said, when she came here, those who had the blood of the 10,000 world's pirates on their hands would have no place in the whole world, and could only find a place in hell. The fully beastly Drake was indeed physically strong, and Eri's slashes fell on him, only leaving wounds, but could not penetrate him. However, Drake's speed and flexibility were far inferior to those of Ellie. Although he was clumsy, he could not touch Ellie at all, and could only be attacked by countless sword ki. As time passed, Drake's body was covered with more and more scars, while Ellie remained exactly the same as before, and even the consumption could not be seen. If it were not for the extremely strong vitality of the animal type devil fruit ability users, Drake would have lost the ability to fight by now. However, considering her huge body, the current injury is not fatal, at least it will not affect her combat effectiveness. New World Navy G1 branch. The coalition of pirates has begun to attack the Bankai pirates. The outer towns have been basically cleared out, and only a few are still resisting. Hatake Kakashi led a group of people to rescue everywhere, but there are too many towns, and those pirates are not easy to deal with, so it is just a drop in the bucket. Vice Admiral Churu looked at the many Navy and Army generals standing in front of him, and said the intelligence with a serious face, but until now, the 4 emperors have not appeared, and there has been no big movement from the Bankai pirates. When should we start to act? The real combat power of the Bankai pirates is not those affiliated pirate groups, but their core members. If they have not been dispatched yet, it proves that the war has not reached a white-hot stage, so we must at least wait until all the core personnel of the Bankai pirates are. Before Khan Gang had finished speaking, Vice Admiral Chatton of the Navy headquarters came out. In such a scene, even he had to take it seriously. Just now, the news came that the core members of the Bankai pirates have already started to act, and they are almost fully deployed. In less than 3 hours, they have suppressed a town respectively. Ordinary pirates have no resistance at all under their hands. What do we need to wait for? Marshal Khan. At this time, a light flashed in the eyes of the army marshal, and he stared at Khan and said in a deep voice. He was the absolute advocate of war in this action. After all, he had never really fought with the Bankai pirates. No matter how powerful the Bankai pirates were in the rumors, he felt that it was just an exaggeration. The 4 emperors have not shown up yet. They are waiting like us, but what the army marshal said is not wrong. After all, we are carrying justice. There is no need to continue to wait and see. Kang sighed in his heart. In fact, he felt that it would be safer to wait for a while, but this was a joint action of the Navy and the Army after all, and he also needed to consider the Army Marshal's thoughts. The Navy and the Army are commanded by their respective marshals, but remember one thing, before the 4 Emperors pirates launch an attack on the core area of the Bankai pirates, no party can approach the core area. It is enough to sweep the outer towns. Do you understand? Now, everyone move out. After the battle plan was decided, the Navy quickly executed it. The troops that had been arranged rushed to the Bankai continent in an instant. However, Minato had already guessed their way of action, and had made arrangements in advance. For this reason, Minato sent Jiraiya, who was responsible for guarding the core area, to ensure that his side could win. Candy City. It's been a long time, why haven't those Navy come yet? Did Minato make a wrong estimate? Tsunade was already a little impatient at this time. If Minato really made a wrong estimate, the time they wasted here could have rescued many members of the Bankai pirates. Minato's estimate is not wrong. The Navy will definitely come to Candy City. Just wait quietly. Jiraiya knelt on the ground with his eyes closed. Compared with Tsunade and others, he was much calmer. No need to wait any longer. The Navy is already here. At this moment, Jiraiya stood up all of a sudden. He walked forward step by step, and then one ninjutsu after another burst out, breaking through the fog that existed in front of him in an instant. Suddenly, a golden figure appeared in front of those ninjutsu. The light in his hand gathered and turned into a special long sword. Then he used all his strength to send out a slash, forcibly blocking Jiraiya's ninjutsu. How terrible, crazy Jiraiya. Although Kizaru's swordsmanship is good, it is not what he is really good at. After blocking Jiraiya's ninjutsu, he also looked solemn. Although his tone was a bit joking, facing that powerful attack, he really didn't dare to be careless. As the surrounding fog dispersed, the Navy's warships also appeared in everyone's field of vision. However, this time the Navy's warships were not many, and the specifications were far inferior to those of the Demon Slayer Order. There were only 3 warships. However, the warships were occupied by the elite personnel of the Navy and the Army, except for some ordinary soldiers from the Navy and the Army who drove the ships. The other main combat forces, the weakest of which was also at the level of Vice Admiral of the Navy, were now carrying the so-called Justice, and launched an attack on the Wanji pirates. What is this? Where did that guy Chen Tian find so many strong men? Marshal Zanjiuo's face was extremely serious at this moment. He stared at Tam standing not far from Jiraiya, and couldn't help being shocked. Although he had long known that this was a routine operation of the Wanji pirates, there would always be some strong men who had never emerged and became the core members of the Wanji cooperation. So far, most of the members of the Wanji pirates have no records in the world government intelligence. I really don't know where Chen Tian could find so many top strong men. Especially Tam's strange look. If he had seen it, Sengoku would never forget it. Even if he had only seen it through information files or photos, Sengoku could be sure that he would not forget it. In fact, Tam participated in the previous war on the top, but unfortunately Sengoku did not see him because he was intercepting in the sea around Marin Fanduo. Vice Captain Minato has ordered that the Navy leave 5 Admiral level combat forces here. All those below the Admiral are not allowed to pass through Candy City. Others can continue to move forward along the road. You can attack the core area at will. As long as you can pass through, you can reach the core area. Jiraiya's eyes suddenly turned into vertical pupils, and he turned on the Sage mode. His eyes stared at the 3 Navy warships like swords. As for other islands, don't even think about going. Of course, if you insist on going, I won't stop you, but then none of the Navy soldiers behind you will survive. This is a naked threat. For a while, the faces of everyone on the Navy warship became much uglier, but facing Jiraiya's blatant threat, they had no way to deal with it. They clamor for justice every day, but justice will not protect them. If Jiraiya and others really go crazy, it is estimated that none of these people will survive. Chapter 349 5 people left behind. Why waste so much time talking to these guys? My fists have been thirsty for a long time. At this moment, Tsunade brought a huge stone from somewhere, and with a loud shout, she suddenly exerted her strength and smashed the stone directly towards the Navy. If the warship was hit by this huge stone, it is estimated that the warship would immediately be silent in the sea. However, there are elite soldiers from both the Navy and the Army on the warship. Although such a huge stone looks scary, how can it not be solved? Gravity Sword, Tiger. Fujitora smiled and took the initiative to attack. The power of the gravity fruit immediately erupted. With his own powerful swordsmanship attainments, he slashed the huge stone in 2 with one sword. Then Fujitora smiled and jumped out first, landing directly on the ground of Candy City. He held his sword in one hand and said in a deep voice, "After all, some people will stay here to deal with it. As for how to arrange the follow-up actions, it is up to you. There are still 4. If you don't stay, then I won't be polite." Chakra surged in Jiraiya's hand, and countless ninjutsu rushed out, one after another towards the Navy warships. Some of the ninjutsu even landed on the Navy warships, but because Jiraiya was just warning, it did not cause any casualties. But this behavior has shown that as long as Jiraiya is willing, those strong men may not be in trouble, but these ordinary Navy soldiers can't survive in Jiraiya's hands. Kizaru, Green Bull, the 2 of you go help Fujitora. Aokiji immediately made a decision at this time. He turned his head and looked at the army marshal and said, "The remaining 2 people should be taken care of by your army." This is a war, but there is no need to increase meaningless casualties. If Akainu Sakazuki became the new Navy Admiral, he would definitely not care about anything at this time, and would rush forward directly, and then all the Navy soldiers would sacrifice for justice. But now the Navy Admiral is Aokiji, so he will not make the decision to sacrifice ordinary Navy soldiers, especially in this unnecessary situation. Although the Army Marshal did not want to pay attention to Aokiji, Steelbone Sora also agreed with Aokiji's decision, so 2 general-level strongmen of the army rushed directly into the Candy City. 5 general-level strongmen had enough strength to deal with this battle. Except for Tam, whose strength was unclear. They were very clear about the strength of Jiraiya and Tsunade. Although both of them had reached the level of generals, it was still unlikely to do 1 against 2. It's just that Tsunade is more difficult to deal with. She can even hold back several people by herself, but it won't be for too long. That recovery ability is so powerful that, even if the body is split in 2, it can recover quickly, leaving all the combat forces, except the admirals, is not considered a threat from Jiraiya. Under the advice of Buddha Sengoku and Aokiji, Steelbone Kong agreed to such a decision. They dispatched the elite of the Navy and the Army this time. Even if they left 5 admiral level combat forces, they still have many powerful existences. Steelbone Kong, Navy Marshal Aokiji, Army Marshal, Buddha Sengoku and Hero Garb, 5 top level admiral level strongmen, are enough to deal with all the subsequent battles. And in this Candy City, as long as Kizaru and Fujitora and others defeat the opponent, then all other combat forces below the admiral level can immediately split their troops and attack the surrounding islands. As long as Kizaru and others still have combat capabilities, they can immediately support Steelbone Kong and his party. In this way, all the top combat forces of the Navy will still exist. Then no matter what kind of conspiracy and tricks the other party has, it will be useless. In the face of absolute strength, all conspiracies and tricks will not work. There is another reason why Gangu Kong agreed to Aokiji and Sengoku's suggestion. That is, he knew the movements of the Pirate Alliance through the undercover of the world government in the Navy. That is, the mysterious pirates. So he believed that no matter how powerful the 10,000 Worlds pirates were, it would be impossible for them to draw enough strength to deal with the elite of their navy while dealing with the Pirate Alliance. Let's go directly to the core area. I want to see what kind of strength the 10,000 Worlds pirates, who have defeated the navy several times, have. Gangu Khan gave an order, and 5 top masters including him gathered on a warship, while the others moved to the other 2 warships. Then, the 5 of them no longer hesitated, and drove the warship directly to the core area of the 10,000 Worlds pirates. He wanted to see what tricks the 10,000 Worlds pirates could play. Fortunately, in order to facilitate the entry and exit of the 10,000 Worlds pirates, Chen Tian built many large canals in the 10,000 Worlds continent, just like a highway that connects in all directions. Otherwise it would be really difficult for the warship to enter. At this time, Jiraiya's voice sounded again. He stood at the bow of the warship and whispered, "By the way, Vice Captain Minato asked me to give you a piece of advice. Don't approach the 3 cities closest to Candy City casually, otherwise you will bear the consequences." Hearing this, Gangu Kong and others ignored Jiraiya and directly let the warship go to the core area behind Candy City. As for whether they listened to Minato's advice, no one knew. But after they left, Jiraiya's eyes were on the Admiral Kizaru and the 2 army generals who were closest to him. Then his cold and low voice came out slowly from his mouth. "Leave these 3 guys to me, and you can choose the remaining 2. As soon as the words fell, Jiraiya walked towards Kizaru and the 2 army generals step by step. His steps were steady and unhurried, as if in his eyes, these 3 admiral level strongmen could not pose any threat to him at all. But his eyes were very serious. As a strong man who grew up through hard work, he knew one thing very well, that is, you can't underestimate any opponent, even if your opponent is not as good as yourself. The great man will be killed by the insidious and cunning villain, not because the great man is not strong enough, but because he did not take the villain seriously. In this case, he did not use enough powerful power, and was directly taken away by the villain, without any room for resistance. Jiraiya knew this kind of thing very well, so he would never make such a mistake. Chapter 350, Analysis as Fierce as a Tiger. Suddenly, Jiraiya stopped, and his figure disappeared in an instant, shooting out at the speed of thunder. The powerful ninjutsu was everywhere at this moment, and the terrifying momentum like hell also emerged. Kizaru didn't even think about it, and immediately condensed the sword of American English no Kyume in his hand, and then forcibly withstood Jiraiya's ninjutsu. He continued to chatter, with such a strong strength, it is obvious that there is no problem for you to become one of the 4 emperors, but you are just a cadre of the 10,000 Worlds pirate group. Don't you feel uncomfortable in your heart? At the same time, the 2 generals of the army immediately rushed over from different directions. You are far worse than Orochimaru in playing with people's hearts, so shut up. Jiraiya shouted loudly, and then his figure flashed and appeared directly behind Kizaru. He decisively ignored the attacks of the other 2 army generals. This time Kizaru was a Rasengan. The powerful chakra swept all around at this moment, clearly showing that he wanted to exchange his life for Kizaru's and beat him to death with one move. However, Kizaru's movements were still very fast. As the one with the strongest ability to save his life among the 3 admirals of the navy, he chose to transform into an element without hesitation, avoiding Jiraiya's Rasengan, and then rushed directly into the sky. He lowered his head and saw Jiraiya being cut in half by the weapons in the hands of the 2 admirals, but at this time Kizaru frowned. He didn't think that the other party could be dealt with so easily. On the contrary, the 2 army generals looked at Jiraiya, who had been broken into 2 pieces, and fell to the ground with contempt. They only sneered and said, I thought the cadres of the Bankei pirates were so powerful, but they turned out to be such trash. I really don't know why the marshal agreed to participate in this operation. Is it because the navy is too weak? As soon as these words came out, all the navy, whether on the warship or in the candy city, looked ugly. But at this moment, Jiraiya's body, who was lying on the ground, suddenly turned into a puff of smoke, and then became a wooden block that was split in 2. Jiraiya himself walked out slowly from another direction, and then he sneered and said, what are you talking about? Seeing Jiraiya unharmed, Kizaru nodded thoughtfully, without any surprise. It was not the first time he had come into contact with Jiraiya. He knew better than anyone what kind of strength the other party had. If it was really so easy to be solved, the Bankei pirates would have been destroyed by them long ago. On the contrary, the 2 army generals looked at Jiraiya who was unharmed, and then looked at the ground with only 2 pieces of wood left, as if they had seen a ghost. Although the substitution technique is the simplest and most basic ninjutsu, it has never been seen by these 2 army generals. The navy is better than them. After all, they have come into contact with the Bankei pirates many times, and have some understanding of it. Since you 2 are so enthusiastic, then this immortal will not be polite. Jiraiya clapped his hands, and huge waves rose on the edge of the coast. This area is simply a paradise for water-style ninjas. Although Jiraiya is not a pure water ninja, with his erudition and talent, water ninjutsu is not easy to master. On the other side, Kang and Sengoku and others were also discussing. Sengoku, which town do you think we should go to? Kang stood on the deck of the warship at this time, and said to Sengoku beside him, the world government has sent news that the pirate coalition has successively captured 3 towns. Do you think we should turn the bow and attack other towns outside directly, or go to the core area of the Wanji pirates as we said just now? Sengoku has the title of wise general. Although he is no longer a navy marshal, Kang still believes in him very much. After all, the previous war on the top was not a war crime. Not only is the sudden appearance of Lacus too powerful, but there are also the intervention of the Blackbeard pirates and the Red Hair pirates. He feels that even he can't control the situation. The army marshal also set his sights on Sengoku at this moment. He doesn't have a good impression of the navy, but Sengoku is indeed a respectable person. In fact, we can think about the other party's purpose in reverse. The other party first arranged for us to go to the core area of the 10,000 Worlds pirates to prove that they are ready in the core area and waiting for us to go there. However, most of the combat forces of the 10,000 Worlds pirates have been dispatched, so there will definitely not be too many people responsible for guarding the core area. They are more likely to use this as a false alarm to prevent us from going to the core area. Zanji Yuo analyzed the current situation in detail, and he also said it clearly. From the current situation, The other party actually does not want us to go to the core area, because although the defense there is not weak, it is definitely not very strong. Secondly, the core members have been fully dispatched. If we turn the bow to the outer area, we are likely to be surrounded by the core members who suddenly appear in a city. Listening to Zenji Yuo's analysis, several people around him nodded in agreement. It should be said that Zenji Yuo's analysis is indeed very reasonable, and there is nothing wrong with it from a strategic point of view. The news that the 10,000 world's pirates are fully dispatched is indeed true, and there will indeed be no powerful existence left in the core area. Even if there is a general, there is only one at most. This is already a very high opinion of the Bankai pirates, and there is even a possibility that there is no admiral level. Bilu bilu, bilu bilu. At this time, the voice of the Den Mushi came from the pocket of Steel Bone Sora's shirt. After taking out the Den Mushi, he answered the phone. What is the latest situation? Golden Lion Shiki encountered the core members of the Bankai pirates in the air. Judging from the current situation, most of the people in the Bankai pirates have appeared. A low voice came from the phone, and then it was hung up immediately. It was obvious that the person on the other side of the Den Mushi had no way to communicate with Steel Bone Sora for a long time. And this information just made Sengoku's reasoning more accurate. Since most people have been dispatched, is there anyone responsible for guarding the core area? Is there anyone guarding the surrounding cities? If there is no one or no strong person in the core area, then the people of the Bankai pirates naturally don't want them to get close to the core area, so they deliberately use words to arouse their suspicion and set a trap for them. The first is to let them go to the core area directly, which is actually to keep them away from the core area. If the first plan was discovered by them, then try not to let them approach other towns that are not guarded by strong men. This is the second plan. Minato Namikaze of the Bankai pirates is really not simple. No wonder he can become the vice captain and be in charge of the affairs of such a huge territory. Sengoku couldn't help but praise Minato at this moment. If it weren't for the fact that the world government had an undercover in the pirate coalition and happened to meet the Golden Lion pirates, then they would really hesitate whether to go to the core area. Even if they went, they would still hesitate whether to approach the nearby towns. But now with this information, everything is very clear. Not only do they have to go to the core area, but they must also attack the surrounding towns, because there are no strong men guarding those towns now. Unless Chenshin or Lacus or Might Guy personally go out, but this possibility is not great. Chenshin is the captain of the Bankai pirates, and he needs to stay in the core area, not other towns. Lacus had almost never left Chenshin, and even in the previous war at the top, she had always been by Chenshin's side, so she probably wouldn't leave this time either, and it was more likely that she would still be guarding Chenshin. As for Might Guy, it was possible that he would appear in a nearby town, but if he did, it might be a good thing for them. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.